Chapter 3676. The legend lowered his head and looked at the leftovers in front of him. The three of them would only leave him a few mouthfuls of rice. The rice would even have the bones of the pork ribs they had eaten. It was clean, without a single piece of meat on it. If he wanted to eat the leftovers, he would have to throw out the bones that disgusted him. The legend, who used to be nobler than anyone else, finally lowered his noble head out of habit. He picked up the lunchbox almost without hesitation and ate the rest of the rice. He was hungry, really hungry. Because these bastards didn't let him drink water, he had no choice but to drink the leftover vegetable juice in the lunchbox. The legend didn't want to think about the vegetable juice mixed with the three bastards' saliva. Every time he thought about it, he would feel nauseous. However, the vegetable juice was very salty. He would always cough a few times after drinking it. This time, the cough was even worse because his flat conductors seemed to have become inflamed. It seems that the young master of a rich family can't handle things. The leader of the group was a little impatient with the legend's coughing. Because of this, he asked his lackey to throw a bottle of mineral water to the legend. The legend hadn't drunk water for 2 days. He couldn't wait to drink it. Because he drank it too quickly, he choked on the water and couldn't help but cough loudly again. "I gave you water to stop your annoying coughing. If it doesn't work, I'll take it back." As soon as the leader finished speaking, the lackey snatched the bottle of mineral water from the legend's hand and threw it into the corner. The legend quickly rushed forward to save the water, but it had already flowed to the ground. Only thirsty people would know how wonderful water was. Thirsty people would go crazy if they saw liquid, not to mention water. The legend didn't care that the water had flowed to the ground. He lowered his head and began to drink the water on the ground. Tisk. Tsk. Tsk. No matter what, you're a rich man. You don't need to drink water on the ground, do you? The leader shook the bottle in his hand. If you haven't drunk enough, I have more. Come to me and I'll give it to you. The legend was overjoyed when he heard that. He walked to the leader and looked at him with desire. "Give it to me. Give me some water. Who do you think you are? Are you ordering me around? I'm not your servant." The young man in the lead glared at him. The legend of the legendary battle pet warrior was dumbfounded. He questioned himself in his heart, why did he have to be so stupid to believe the words of the legendary battle pet warrior? "If it's a request, I might agree to it because I'm a kind person." The youth in the lead said, "But I hope that you can show a bit of a request. If you don't even know what a request is, how can I satisfy your request?" I beg you, please give me some water." The legendary warrior had no choice but to swallow his anger. "That's right. That's the attitude you should have," the leading young man said. The legend of legend looked at him pitifully and begged him to give him the water. "I can give you water, but you better remember, don't cough after drinking the water. If you keep coughing, I promise I'll beat you until you spit out all the water you drank." The young man in the lead glared at the legendary battle pet warrior. At this time, Cho Shan arrived at the tea house. It was only when Cho Shan came that the three youths in charge of guarding him would not be so ferocious. However, the legend of the legendary warrior did not expect to complain to Cho Shan because Cho Shan could guess the attitude of his subordinates. However, this attitude was within the scope of the legendary warrior's acquiescence. As long as the legend of the legendary warrior did not kill or leave any obvious injuries, Cho Shan would not blame his subordinates. "Brother Cho Shan, have you received the money already?" The legend of the legendary warrior did not even care about his thirst when he saw Cho Shan. He almost jumped at Cho Shan but was stopped by one of Cho Shan's subordinates. "Brother Cho Shan, I know it must be the money." The legend of the legendary warrior's face was filled with excitement. Cho Shan had not come for the past 2 days. Now that he suddenly came, it must be because there was news. The money must have been in the account. That was why Cho Shan came to find him. Now, Cho Shan wanted to let him go. The legend of the legendary warrior could not hide his excitement. He finally did not have to endure the torture of those three bastards. "Why do you think the money is in the account?" Cho Shan asked in a questioning tone. The legend of the legendary warrior was speechless. If the money is in the account, why are you still here? Cho Shan continued to question him. Do you think I am not a trustworthy person? Wrong, then you're gravely mistaken. I'm a very, very trustworthy person. Even I admire my own trustworthiness. The legend of the legendary warrior's heart turned cold. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. This saying was not false at all. The legend of the legendary warrior was 100% sure that his father had given the ransom to Cho Shan. That was why he was so confident that he could be set free. But who knew that all of this was just his own imagination? The legend of the legendary warrior sat on the ground with a pale face. In my opinion, your family doesn't think that we'll do anything to you. Since that's the case, I can only take some small measures, Cho Shan said indifferently, as if he was talking about an extremely ordinary matter. What do you want? The legend of the legendary warrior was nervous. He looked at Cho Shan in horror. I beg you, don't torture me. Of course I won't torture you. Torturing you is meaningless to me, Cho Shan said. But I need some things from you to send to your family. Only then will they realize that we are not joking with them. The legend of the legendary warrior's face turned pale. We have an agreement. I will give you 3 days. If I don't get the money in 3 days, I will cut off your hand. Cho Shan continued. I believe that if I cut off your hand and send it to your family will cooperate as soon as possible. The legend of the legendary warrior was so scared that he could not speak. If your family still does not cooperate, then I will continue to take some things from you and send them to them. Cho Shan said. It could be your ear, or your nose, or even the thing in your pants. No. I beg you. No. It is not even 3 days. The legend of the legendary warrior shook his head in panic. It is only 2.5 days. Yes, 2.5 days. It is not even 3 days. No. Let's wait. Trust me, my family will give you the money. But the premise is that you can't hurt me. If you hurt me, you will not get a penny. Cho Shan laughed. I have not hurt you these few days. You speak as if I have already gotten the money. Chapter 3677. Half a day more. Give me half a day more. Trust me, please. Trust me. The legend tried his best to explain. 600 million is not a small amount. 2 or 3 days is too short. 2 or 3 days is too short. Cho Shan frowned. That's true. If you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have remembered. It's too short. The legend breathed a sigh of relief. Yes, it's too short for such a large amount of money. Well, then I should urge your family even more, Cho Shan said. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't get the money until after the spring festival. The legend was stunned. Cho Shan gave 2 of his men a look. 2 of them stepped forward and held Cho Shan down. The third one pulled the legend's hand out and placed it on the table. Before the legendary battle pet warrior could react, the subordinate took out a dagger and handed it to Cho Shan. The silver dagger reflected a dazzling cold light, and the legendary battle pet warrior's mind went blank. When Cho Shan gently pressed the cold dagger against the back of his hand, he instantly shuddered and regained his senses. No. It's not time yet. You can't go back on your word. Cho Shan smiled and stabbed the dagger into Legend's hand. He looked at Legend and said, Me? Not keeping my promise? Ha. Good, very good. This is the first time someone said that to me. It's not time yet. You're going back on your word. The legendary battle pet warrior roared. Fine. Then I'll keep my promise. I want to be an honest man. Cho Shan said in all seriousness. Tonight at 12 o'clock, I'll give you enough time. Wait until 12 o'clock tonight. For the next 3 days, I won't give you a minute or a second earlier, but I won't give you a minute or a second more either. If I don't get the money by 12 o'clock, don't even think about putting your hand back together for the rest of your life. I'll chop off your hand and feed it to the dogs. The legend endured the threat and fear. He couldn't help but tremble. He didn't have any confidence. He didn't have any confidence at all. He didn't believe that his father could deliver the money to Choshan and the others in time. Without that confidence, the only thing left in a legend's heart was fear. You know what? It's actually not that scary when you chop off someone's hand. It's just that. Choshan smiled. If I don't tell you, you might not even realize it when your hand and wrist are separated. By the time you react to the pain, your hand will have already been separated. The legendary battle pet warrior swallowed his saliva. Choshan was too serious, so the legend didn't doubt that he had really chopped off other people's hands. What's scarier than having your hands chopped off is not knowing when your hands will be chopped off. Choshan continued, if I raise the knife up and down, and then raise it up again, that kind of feeling will make you feel tormented, because you don't know if I will really chop down. That was indeed the case. He didn't want to suffer that kind of torment. The scariest thing is to know the time, Choshan said, and asked one of his men to put a watch in front of the legend. How many hours left? You know very well that time is ticking away, and you can't stop it. You can only wait for it to run out of time, and then take your hand away. No. 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 The legend shook his head. Give me a call. I want to call my family. I beg you. Let me call my family. No. Choshan shook his head. You don't have a chance to call them, but you can give me a mailbox. I will ask someone to take a few photos of you and send them over. After saying that, Choshan kicked the legendary battle pet warrior to the ground and signaled for his subordinates to take a picture of his sorry state. The legend didn't feel any shame now. He quickly wrote down a mailbox. He needed them to send him his current situation as soon as possible. He wanted his father to know how miserable he was. At this moment, Chuan Shan, who was far away in Shenzhen, did not believe his daughter-in-law's words at all. He felt that his disappointing son was trying to trick him into helping him pay back the casino's money as soon as possible. He was too lazy to pay attention to them. That was why after the legend's woman came to Xinjiang, she only saw her father-in-law, Chuan Shan. She never saw him again. She thought that she only needed to wait for 2 days for Chuan Shan to understand. She thought that everything would be easier after Chuan Shan's anger disappeared. But she never thought that she would receive a few photos of the legend in her mailbox. She never thought that the legend would have such a day. He couldn't pretend to be so miserable. The legend's eyes were full of fear. He had lost all hope. Then, she saw the following line of words. Tonight was the final deadline. The woman had no choice but to find Chuan Shan. She had to solve the problem now. If Chuan Shan really said that he didn't care about his son anymore, she wouldn't stay in Shenzhen and waste her time. She would return to the United States as soon as possible and move everything that she could take away. She would never continue living with her son who was abandoned by Chuan Shan. She would never want to drag herself down with the things that the legend owed her. She had to fight for one last chance for herself. No matter what, she had to tell Chuan Shan whether the problem was solved or not. Chuan Shan didn't think that things would come to this. He was so angry that he wanted to smash his own office. But in the end, he calmed down and asked his secretary to book him the fastest flight to Hong Kong and Macau. No matter how angry he was about this matter, he had to solve it. If he couldn't solve it, then no one else in the world could. Only Chuan Shan himself knew how much helplessness he felt. No one else knew about this helplessness. Chuan Shan couldn't just leave his son in Hong Kong and Macau. He had to go to Hong Kong and Macau to solve the problem. He had to find a way to contact someone with a higher position in the 18K. If he couldn't solve the problem, he would find a way to find someone with more power to solve the problem. In short, the problem had to be solved. No matter how useless, and troublesome the legend of legend was, he had no choice but to endure it. After all, he was the one who gave birth to the legend of legend, and he was the one who taught the legend of legend. As the saying goes, if the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. Chuan Shan had instilled too many thoughts in his son that he shouldn't have. The legend became what he was today because of those thoughts. Chapter 3678. Since Yi Shui came to Shenzhen, she used the fastest time to keep an eye on Chuan Shan. During this time, Chuan Shan was always in a hurry. He always looked restless. Yi Shui had no way to judge what happened to Chuan Shan, but she still decided to investigate as much as possible about whether what Tuo Tong said was true. It was just that this kind of thing was really difficult to investigate. It could even be said that it gave Yi Shui a feeling that she didn't know where to start. After all, this clue was just a sentence from Tuo Tong. There was no other entry point to investigate. Just when Yi Shui was a little helpless about this matter, Chuan Shan actually went directly to the airport. This really caught Yi Shui off guard. Chuan Shan took a flight to Hong Kong and Macau, but Yi Shui couldn't buy a ticket for this flight. Not only this flight, but also today's flight. This matter gave Yi Shui a special headache, but Chuan Shan had already left. She could only helplessly accept this fact. She could only investigate this Chamber of Commerce chairman from other convenient ways. She could only blame herself for not having the ability to do everything. She missed the news of Chuan Shan booking a ticket. When Chuan Shan walked out of the Macau airport, the sky was not dark yet. He took a deep breath of Macau's air. It was indeed much better than the inland. He believed that the air abroad must be better than here. Thinking of this, Chuan Shan had to speed up his retirement. It was a pity that this bastard son lost nearly 3 billion this time. He really wanted to skin him alive. When Chuan Shan's secretary just got off the plane, he called a special car that was booked in advance. So after he made a phone call, a Mercedes-Benz quickly stopped in front of them. The secretary opened the door and asked Chuan Shan and his daughter-in-law to get in the car. Then he sat in the front passenger seat. "Go directly to the place you know," Chuan Shan said to his daughter-in-law faintly. The woman immediately told the driver the approximate address of the tea house. In fact, she only needed to tell the driver the name of the tea house, and the driver would know. It was a place that everyone in Macau knew. It was a landmark place for 18K. The driver quickly sent them to the place. After the secretary opened the door for them and got out of the car, Chuan Shan's face was obviously gloomier than before. At this time, the sky suddenly darkened. It seemed that it was going to rain. In the case of a cloudy day, Chuan Shan's face became more and more pale. "It's here," the woman told Chuan Shan carefully. Chuan Shan glanced at her and asked, "Do you want to go up?" The woman was stunned. She didn't know how to answer this question. To be honest, she didn't want to go up, but she felt that it wouldn't be appropriate if she didn't go up. But on second thought, she knew that the legend wouldn't want her to see him like that. "What's wrong?" Chuan Shan frowned. The woman shook her head. "Dad, I don't know if I should go up there. You know how Legend is like. He has always been a male chauvinist. If I go up there, he will definitely feel inferior when he sees me like this. I don't want him to have that kind of thought. Besides, and you don't want to go up there either, right?" Chuan Shan said. The woman didn't know how to answer, so she just kept quiet. "If I were you, I wouldn't want to go up there either." Chuan Shan said, "Let's not talk about you. Even I don't want to go up there and lose face. But I have no choice but to refuse. I don't feel embarrassed." The woman quickly shook her head. "No need to explain," Chuan Shan said. "There's nothing to explain. This is the truth. I just hate that he made a fool of me. And he threw him so far away." The secretary stood in front of Chuan Shan and didn't know whether to knock on the door first. "Wait for us in the car." Chuan Shan forced himself to calm down again and said to his daughter-in-law lightly, "Yes, Dad." The woman was relieved. She really didn't want to go up there. She was very surprised to be pardoned by Chuan Shan, so she was very relaxed at the moment. The secretary went forward and opened the door of the tea house. Chuan Shan strode forward. As soon as the two came in, they were stopped by someone. "Who are you?" "I'm here to see my son," Chuan Shan said without hesitation. "I heard that he owed 18K 600 million, so I came to see if he's dead." Chuan Shan's aura was quite strong. At least his identity and status were very powerful, so he could still hold up his value in front of these small characters. They looked at each other, and one of them said, "He's on the second floor." When Chuan Shan and the secretary went upstairs, the people downstairs immediately called the people upstairs. Legend went upstairs and finally came to the room where his son was. Qiu Shan was in the room at the moment. He didn't even look back when he received the report. He just enjoyed the ecstatic expression on Legend's face as if nothing had happened. Legend's expression had betrayed his heart. The moment he saw his father, he thought he was saved. Unfortunately, things weren't like that. Qiu Shan knew that they didn't know him at all. He was a master who only cared about money, not people. So he wouldn't let a debtor go just because his rich father showed up. What he wanted to see was money. Even if it was a poor old man, as long as he brought money, he would still politely let him go. If the debtor didn't come with money, what could he do even if he was rich and noble? Dad, you're finally here. I thought. Ha ha ha. Legend was so excited that he didn't know what to do. He just wanted to show off to everyone present. See? This is my dad. My dad is here. Qiu Shan especially despised people like that. There were too many people like that in the current society. They like to say, "How is my dad?" If something were to happen to him, he would use the same method to say, "If my dad finds out." People who only dared to stand out because they liked to wear their father's hat were all cowards and cowards. People with real guts would not like to stand behind their father. Shut up. Chuan Shan glanced at his son. Chuan Shan didn't wait for his son to finish laughing. His words made the legend's laughter get stuck in his throat. If it weren't for his fear of his father, Legend would have cursed. He hadn't smiled for 3 days. Would it kill him to laugh now? Did he have to hold it back? Damn old man. I want to talk to the person in charge here. Chuan Shan walked up calmly. He knew that Qiu Shan was the person in charge, but he didn't ask him directly. Perhaps this was also a manifestation of his imposing manner. Chuan Shan wanted to let the other party know that in his eyes, he was no different from an ordinary hooligan. They were all small potatoes. Chapter 3679. To be honest, Qiu Shan didn't expect a useless legend to have such a powerful father. It wasn't because of his looks or anything else. He just didn't have that kind of spirit or aura. He just gave people the impression that he was a product of old song from next door. Qiu Shan smiled and looked back at Chuan Shan. He didn't say anything and just stared at him. Being stared at without saying a word, anyone would feel uncomfortable. Chuan Shan was no exception. He would also feel uncomfortable, especially uncomfortable. Qiu Shan also used his own way to warn Chuan Shan not to take himself too seriously. This wasn't China, it was Macau. This was his territory. Since there's no one in charge here, I'll take him away. Chuan Shan still didn't want to lose his aura. He stared at Legend and shouted, "What are you waiting for? Come with me." Legend wanted to leave, but when Qiu Shan looked at him, he trembled. There was no reason. He was just afraid. The fear that came from the bottom of his heart instantly spread throughout his body. Legend's feet seemed to be nailed to the ground. Chuan Shan gritted his teeth when he saw Legend's reaction. He didn't expect his son to be so useless. He was afraid because of someone's gaze. Was he still his son? How could he give birth to such a useless son? The legendary battle pet warrior was afraid because he had been tortured by the 3 guards for the past 2 days. He was not afraid of the people, but the torture. He did not want to be controlled like that again. That was why he was afraid of Qiu Shan. If you can't even see that, I doubt you can take out 600 million to redeem your son. Qiu Shan suddenly opened his mouth and said, "It's impossible for someone with such poor eyesight to earn 600 million. You can tell that he's my son. That means you have good eyesight." Chuan Shan said calmly, "You're the person in charge, right?" "I'm in charge of all of 18K's affairs in Macau," Qiu Shan deliberately said in a proud tone. Chuan Shan was indeed Chuan Shan. He was not frightened by Qiu Shan's little ability at all. His tone was still as calm as a calm lake. If you were not only the person in charge of 18K in Macau, but the person in charge of the entire 18K, your attitude might be even more arrogant. If I were, you wouldn't be qualified to stand in front of me and chat. Qiu Shan put away his smile and suddenly became stern. Old thing, don't talk so much nonsense. Transfer the money to me and I'll give you the person. What if I say no? Chuan Shan met Qiu Shan's gaze for the first time. Then don't blame me for uprooting your son in front of you. When Qiu Shan said this, his tone was not threatening or joking. It was just a normal statement. At this time, the more ordinary the statement was, the more terrifying it sounded. Then I promise you'll regret it. Chuan Shan said in the same tone, if you don't believe me, we can give it a try. You dare to use your own son to play with me? Qiu Shan couldn't help but laugh. It was a laugh of disdain because he didn't believe that Chuan Shan would dare to do this. Ha 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 ha, do you think you can scare me? Chuan Shan shook his head. Of course I don't think so, but I'm not trying to scare you. I already have a grandson, so you don't have as much leverage to threaten me as you think. The legend couldn't help but sweat when he heard this. A grandson? How is that possible? He didn't plan to have a child at all. That was impossible. Who is a grandson? Chuan Shan was lying, but the lie seemed to be very effective. At least at this moment, Qiu Shan realized that this old man dared to make a big bet with him. I'm warning you, this is Macau, not China. Qiu Shan's aura was obviously not as strong as before. He could only use this method to improve his aura. In China, you might be a big shot, but since you're in Macau, you're nothing. Since you know that I'm powerful in China, I'll also tell you that those who are powerful in China are also powerful in Hong Kong and Macau. Chuan Shan looked at Qiu Shan calmly. You're powerful in Hong Kong and Macau, but you're nothing in China. Qiu Shan's face instantly turned ugly. Say it again if you have the guts, and I'll kill both of you in Macau now. If you have the ability, or if you have the guts, you would have done it long ago. Chuan Shan said, because you know very well that since I'm here, it means that I don't want to give you money. This is Hong Kong and Macau. I don't care if you're a dragon or a tiger, you have to be obedient. Qiu Shan was angry. At this time, all of Qiu Shan's men took a step forward and surrounded Chuan Shan, his father, and his secretary. Legend was so scared that his legs couldn't help but tremble. If even his father was under their control, how could he escape? Before you want me to be obedient, you'd better call Wei Chengguan and ask him. If Wei Chengguan thinks that I should be obedient, then I'll be obedient. Chuan Shan's face showed no fear at all. You can call him now. Legend was stunned when he heard his father's words. He didn't expect his father to have such a trick up his sleeve. But then again, who was Wei Chengguan? Could he suppress Qiu Shan? Legend wanted to ask this question, but when he saw Qiu Shan's expression, he realized that he didn't need to ask anymore. It was because Qiu Shan's expression showed that he really needed to give Wei Chengguan some face. Are you going to call him, or should I? Chuan Shan pressed. After a mental struggle, Qiu Shan didn't intend to compromise. I don't care who you are, and I don't care what relationship you have with Boss Wei. I'm afraid that even Boss Wei won't have enough face for this matter. Ha ha ha, so you're just a small manager in Macau. How dare you not give Wei Chengguan face? Chuan Shan seemed to be very confident because he knew Wei Chengguan's position in 18K. Even the boss of the entire 18K would have to give Wei Chengguan some face, not to mention that Wei Chengguan was just the boss of a small Australian region. This matter wasn't a debt owed by Legend, so Chuan Shan was confident that Wei Chengguan would help him. Qiu Shan finally put away his strength. He knew very well that this matter wasn't up to him to decide. It was impossible for him to not give Wei Chengguan face, but this matter involved Miss Lin of the Three Lotus Society. It wasn't something that Wei Chengguan could solve with just one sentence. Seeing Qiu Shan's hesitation, Chuan Shan thought that he had achieved his goal. He said to Legend again, "Let's go." Chapter 3680. Wait a minute. Choshan still stopped him at the first moment. I think you still don't understand what I mean. It should be that you don't understand what I mean. Chuan Shan sneered. If that's the case, then I'll call Wei Chengwen personally and let him come and talk to you. It doesn't seem convenient to chat. If possible, you should invite Boss Wei to come and sit with me. Choshan tried his best to make himself look as calm as possible. This could also be considered as a little scheming. If the other party couldn't even invite Wei Chengwen over, it meant that the relationship with Wei Chengwen wasn't very good, so Choshan didn't need to care about anything. Choshan definitely had to give face to Wei Chengwen, but whether Wei Chengwen would give face to this old guy, Choshan didn't know. I know what you're thinking in your heart. Chuan Shan sneered and looked at Choshan. But I tell you, if I invite Wei Chengwen here, I'm afraid the matter between us won't be so easy to solve. You're too confident. Choshan said, I don't owe you anything. Even if Boss Wei is willing to give you face, what can you do to me? You were originally doing things for my son. You helped him catch people and collect money, but halfway through, you betrayed the other party and set a trap for my son. Chuan Shan said, Do you think I can let this kind of thing go? I don't want to argue with you now because I know you don't have the ability to solve this matter. But if you still insist on embarrassing me now, then don't blame me for not giving you face. To be honest, Choshan was really a little surprised at this moment. After all, this matter involved Wei Chengwen. If the other party really wanted to embarrass him, Choshan would definitely be a little sad. But Su Yun's relationship wasn't simple. He didn't dare to provoke the relationship with the Three Lotus Group's Miss Lin. After thinking about it, Choshan instantly fell into a dilemma. At this time, Chuan Shan unceremoniously dialed Wei Chengwen's phone. He believed that a small character like Choshan would never act rashly in front of Wei Chengwen. When Wei Chengwen picked up the phone, Choshan realized that the initiative of the matter had been handed over to the other party. Since this old man wanted to kill him, then he would give him a life and death struggle. Mr. Wei, it's me. Chuan Shan smiled and said, I need your help with something. Guild Leader Chuan, you're being too courteous. If there's anything you need, Guild Leader Chuan, just say it. If there's anything I can help you with, it would be my honor. Ha ha ha. Wei Chengwen said with a smile. Wei Chengwen would definitely make good use of his connections with these deep-rooted and tough forces on the continent. It could be said that Wei Chengwen's main responsibility in 18K was to maintain good relations with the mainland, mainly those who had a certain amount of influence and strength. As the president of such a large chamber of commerce, Chuan Shan was naturally a good contact for Wei Chengwen. Therefore, if Chuan Shan wanted to find Wei Chengwen for anything, Wei Chengwen would definitely not refuse. Only by helping each other could their relationship go further. Originally, their relationship was one where you help me and I help you. Everyone would help each other. Even if they had nothing to do, they would find something to communicate with each other. Only by constantly practicing and troubling each other could their relationship become closer. Not only would Wei Chengwen not be annoyed by Chuan Shan asking for his help, but he would also like it to happen. My son ran into some trouble in the Macau region and was suppressed by 18K's people. Chuan Shan smiled slightly. I don't know who this person in front of me is in your 18K. I hope you can help me communicate with him. Something happened in Macau? Wei Chengwen said, ask him if it's Choshan. If it's Choshan, let him answer the phone. Wei Chengwen directly gave the order. Mr. Wei wants you to answer the phone. Chuan Shan looked at Choshan and said, if you're Choshan, and if you're not, then please inform Choshan to meet me. He is. He's Choshan. Legend exclaimed and struggled. Seeing that his father had contacted a reliable person, Legend instantly became more confident. Dad. He's the boss of Macau, Choshan. I didn't ask you. Chuan Shan glared at his son. He was very unhappy. He was depressed when he heard his son's voice. If the matter had not been forced to this point, Chuan Shan would never want to find Wei Chengwen to help him deal with his own problems. This was the way of the world. The taste of owing a favor was much worse than owing money. This was a pure debt of gratitude. Chuan Shan was very clear that he had to help Wei Chengwen solve many problems and troubles in China in the future to repay this debt of gratitude. If it were not for the huge amount of 600 million, Chuan Shan would rather spend money than ask for connections. I'm sorry. Cho Shan did not answer the phone. You're the one who called. I don't know if it's Boss Wei on the other end of the phone. If it's Boss Wei, you can ask him to come to Macau to talk to me. I'll definitely give face to Boss Wei, but it's definitely not something you can do with a phone call. Cho Shan's voice was enough for Wei Chengwen to hear. As Cho Shan spoke, he silently put his hand into his pocket and quietly turned off his phone. He knew that Wei Chengwen would call him directly after hearing this. It was impossible for him not to pick up at that time. Once he picked up the phone, he had to give face to Wei Chengwen's order. He turned off his phone so that he could temporarily avoid it. Mr. Wei, you heard what he said. Chuan Shan took back the phone and said, I'm afraid I can't get his trust. Tell him. I'll call him personally. Wei Chengwen hung up Chuan Shan's phone after he finished speaking. Chuan Shan handed the phone to the secretary beside him. Then he looked at Chuan Shan and said, Mr. Wei said that he will call you personally. Okay, I'll wait for his call. Cho Shan nodded. His cell phone was turned off at the moment, and no calls could come in. If Wei Chengwen gave the other party face and rushed over at this time, then he would make other plans. If Wei Chengwen gave up because he could not make a call, then Cho Shan would not take him seriously. Sure enough, Wei Chengwen called several times in a row but could not get through. He was furious. He would definitely be able to figure out Cho Shan's little tricks. After 5 minutes, Cho Shan's phone did not ring. Even a person as steady as Chuan Shan frowned. Did it take so long to make a call? I haven't received a call. It seems that the Boss Wei you mentioned is not the same person as the Boss Wei I know, right? Cho Shan smiled and provoked. Just as Chuan Shan was feeling suspicious, Wei Chengwen called back. President Chuan. That kid Cho Shan turned off his phone. Tell me, I'll come to Macau to find him now. Tell him to wait. Wei Chengwen was very angry when he said this. Chapter 3681. When Chuan Shan heard this, a smile appeared on his face again. Mr. Wei, then I'll stay and wait for you. He doesn't plan to let me leave now. Then I'll have to trouble you, President Chuan. Wei Chengwen said, Don't worry, I'll rush over as soon as possible. President Chuan Shan will wait for me patiently. When I get there, I'll reprimand that arrogant bastard in person. He really thinks that he can look down on everyone just because 18K gave him the management of Macau. Wei Chengwen's voice was quite loud when he said this, so even if Chuan Shan didn't turn on the loudspeaker, everyone could still hear him. At this time, Cho Shan's subordinates couldn't help but sweat for their boss. After all, Wei Chengwen was a big shot in the headquarters, while Cho Shan was only in charge of Macau. If they were in a company, Wei Chengwen would be a supervisor, mainly in charge of management, while Cho Shan could only be regarded as a leader, mainly in charge of doing things. Whose level was higher could be seen with a single glance, so everyone couldn't help but worry for Cho Shan. Since Cho Shan made this decision, he didn't plan to regret it. After all, it was his boss who contacted him first, and it was also his boss who made him admire Miss Lin's friend from the Three Lotus Association. He was definitely working for his boss in this matter. Even if Wei Chengwen really came, no matter how much he complained, he couldn't do anything to him. Of course, he needed to contact his boss in advance. Since Boss Wei isn't here yet, then wait here obediently. Cho Shan sneered and said to his subordinates, Open your eyes. Watch them carefully. If anyone dares to let them leave this place, I'll skin him alive. Yes, boss, the subordinates said in unison. In fact, there was a guilty conscience. After all, the subordinates all heard that the guy in front of them was related to Wei Chengwen. They could torture and humiliate Legend before, but they definitely didn't dare to torture and humiliate Chuan Shan. The three subordinates who had humiliated Legend at the beginning also quietly walked out of the room under Cho Shan's signal. I don't have time to accompany you all. If Boss Wei comes, I'll naturally come back. Qiu Shan sneered. Forgive me for not accompanying you. Mr. Wei will be here soon, but you're not here to welcome him. I think you really don't want to continue sitting in your current position. Chuan Shan let out a disdainful snort. He will definitely find a way to let Wei Chengwen teach this bastard a lesson. Qiu Shan looked indifferent. Whether Boss Wei will come or not is still unknown to me. I won't waste my time on unknown things. Qiu Shan left after saying this. Apart from the fact that Chuan Shan couldn't leave this place, no one dared to reprimand or stop him from doing anything. Looking at his son's disappointing face, Chuan Shan's heart felt like it was blocked by a ball of tangled hemp. What do you want me to say to you? Chuan Shan looked at his son impatiently and said, You're really useless. I don't understand why I raised you until you were this big. Dad, you can't blame me for this at all. I'm just one person. This is a trap that they set up to deal with me. I can't fight against so many people with my 2 fists. Legend felt wronged. How would I know that 18K would do such a bad thing? That Qiu Shan is a despicable bastard, a despicable person. Legend only dared to curse like this now that Qiu Shan had left. If Qiu Shan was in front of him, he wouldn't dare to curse out loud even though he had these words in his heart. Trap. If you didn't lose so much money in the casino, why would you need to contact 18K? Chuan Shan scolded. Who do you think you are? You don't even have any connections in Hong Kong or Macau. You asked for it. Dad. Lu Benlu was the one who contacted 18K. He's the one who's unreliable. Legend poured dirty water directly. Where's Lu Benlu? Where is he now? Chuan Shan suddenly remembered this guy. Now that such a big thing had happened in Macau, Lu Benlu was not here. He had tried to contact Lu Benlu before, but he couldn't get through. Now that Lu Benlu was hospitalized with a broken rib, his phone had run out of battery. How could he care about charging it? He sighed in pain every day. He is hospitalized. Legend nodded. He was beaten up. Chuan Shan didn't say anything, but in his heart, he thought that Legend deserved it. He continued to stare at his son with cold eyes. You'd better figure it out. Don't shirk your responsibility. I'm telling you clearly that the cause of everything today is because you gambled with someone in the casino and lost a lot of money. How many times have I told you not to gamble too much in the casino? Gambling is the essence of probability. The more you gamble, the more you lose. The casino will never lose money, and the people who gamble will definitely lose more than they win. I was playing 5-card stud with that guy. Legend said. He wanted to say that this kind of gambling didn't have a problem of probability. Everyone had a 50% chance. Chuan Shan saw that Legend didn't realize his mistake at all. He became angry and pointed at Legend. Come here. Legend was stunned and didn't move. Come here. Chuan Shan raised his voice. Legend of the 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 legend. Legend's face was swollen with 5 finger marks in an instant. The legendary battle pet warrior screamed in pain and quickly retreated. There were so many people here, but his father didn't give him any face at all. It hurt Legend's self-esteem too much. Dad, what are you doing? Legend covered his face and stared at his father in confusion. Why are you doing this to me? I want you to wake up. I want you to know what is wrong. Chuan Shan gnashed his teeth. How could he have such a disappointing son? What a sin. The heavens are really committing a sin. Legend lowered his head and stopped talking. He knew that he was a piece of shit in his father's eyes. He was even worse than a piece of shit. If Legend had a choice, he really wished that he hadn't been born into such a family. The environment he grew up in, the education he received, and the sense of superiority he had since he was young had created his current personality, his usual arrogant and domineering personality, and his cowardice whenever he encountered trouble. Was he to blame? No, he wasn't. How could his personality be outstanding if he had a bastard father who would always teach him a lesson a lesson, and a lesson again. What right did a father who always made mistakes have to educate him? Legend grew up with this kind of thinking. That was why he became like this. Chapter 36-82. After Choshan left the room, he said to his 3 underlings who were in charge of guarding the legendary battle pet warrior, "You 3 leave Macau now. I don't care where you go, but don't come back for a week." The 3 lackeys knew very well why Choshan wanted them to hide for a while. Once Wei Chengwen came here to support the other party, that legendary battle pet warrior would definitely find trouble with the 3 of them. Therefore, it was best for the 3 of them to escape now. Choshan took out his wallet and gave each of them 3,000 yuan. "I only have this much on me. Save it. Brother Choshan, it's not hard at all. We won't regret what we did for you. Okay, don't say these useless words. Let's go." Choshan nodded. "I don't want my underlings to be humiliated. Go, be careful on the road." The 3 lackeys nodded, put the money away, and quickly left. They all knew what would happen if they didn't leave, so they left faster than the other. After Choshan saw the 3 underlings leave, he took out his phone and turned it on again. He wanted to ask the boss how to solve this problem. Choshan dialed the boss's number. When the boss picked up the phone, Choshan said carefully, "Boss, it's Choshan." "Okay." The other side of the phone answered. It seemed that the boss was dealing with other things and didn't have much energy to pay attention to this call. "Sorry to bother you, but I have to report this to you because I'm afraid it will affect the relationship between 18K and the 3 Lotus Association." Choshan was quite good at talking. He used the fastest time to shift the boss's attention to him. "What happened?" The boss's voice was obviously interested. Choshan was relieved. "Boss, do you still remember the person who can contact Miss Lin of the 3 Lotus Association?" My memory isn't that bad." The boss was a little impatient. He didn't want to hear about this. "Now, someone has come knocking on our door. Last time, boss told me to take care of the face of Miss Lin of the 3 Lotus Association. Therefore, I stood by Mr. Su's side to deal with this matter." Choshan said, But, what are you worried about? I'm the one who asked you to do this. What's there to but about?" Boss was angry. "Is there anyone who can say no to my decision?" Choshan quickly shook his head. "Of course not. No one would say no to boss's decision. It's just that the current situation is a little chaotic because the people on the other side seem to be related to us, 18K. If they are related, why didn't they contact me?" The boss was about to hang up when he heard this. Choshan knew that the timing was just right. "They contacted Boss Wei. Now, Boss Wei is coming to the Macau region to look for me." From Boss Wei's tone, he wants me to give him an explanation, but I don't know how to say it. After all, that's Boss Wei. I don't dare to say it directly. Wouldn't that be too disrespectful to Boss Wei? At this time, the boss finally understood the real purpose of Choshan's call. He wanted nothing more than an imperial sword so that he wouldn't be put in a difficult position in front of Wei Chengwen. "Even Wei Chengwen is involved?" The boss frowned. "Okay. If he asks you to give him an explanation, tell him that I asked you to do this. Tell him that 18K owes the old president of the 3 Lotus Association a favor and that he must repay it." Choshan nodded. He actually wanted this sentence. That way, even if Wei Chengwen questioned him in front of him, he wouldn't be at a loss for words. "Got it, boss. Is there anything else?" "If there's nothing else, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you." Choshan nodded repeatedly. No. Sorry to bother you, boss." As soon as he finished speaking, the call was hung up. Choshan's face showed a satisfied smile. Now, he didn't care what Wei Chengwen said in front of him. Wei Chengwen wouldn't dare to touch him directly. "The amulet is in my hands. Who's afraid of who?" Choshan returned to the room again. When the legend saw him, he asked angrily, "Where are the 3 guys? Where are the 3 guys who tortured me? I said that I would make them pay." "Who are the 3 guys?" Choshan said, What do you mean? Who are you looking for? Who's torturing you? Speak clearly. You don't have a single injury on your body. Wait a minute, the slap mark on your face wasn't there just now. Did you slap yourself? Did you want to bite my men? The legend gritted his teeth. You know what those 3 bastards did to me. Where are they? My men are all here. If you can tell me their names, I can find them for you. If you just say, 3 guys, that's too many. I don't have any idea. Can you use your stupid brain to think about it? Is it possible for him to let disrespectful subordinates continue to stay here? Chuanshan was actually quite happy. Choshan sent his men away, which meant that he was afraid of Wei Chengwen. Once Wei Chengwen came, he wouldn't even be able to protect his men. The legend glared at Choshan. Let me tell you, even if they can run away today, they will fall into my hands sooner or later. I won't let them go. Choshan shook his head. I don't know what you are talking about. You. The legend didn't know how to continue threatening and pressuring him. It doesn't matter what you say now. Chuanshan glanced at his son. When Mr. Wei comes, let's see how tough his mouth can be. Ha ha ha. After the call, Choshan, who had a protective talisman in his heart, was much more relaxed than before. Boss Wei is naturally more powerful than me. I have to give face to Boss Wei. I haven't seen Boss Wei for a long time. Don't worry. When he comes, if your relationship is really as good as you said, I'll treat you to supper. Chuanshan's mouth trembled a few times. He gritted his teeth in hatred. This bastard must have done something or made some arrangements when he went out just now. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so confident like he had a card up his sleeve. Chuanshan's intuition was very sensitive. Even if he could feel that Choshan had done something, he didn't have any cards to deal with it. He had shown his trump card, Wei Chengwen. If Wei Chengwen couldn't help him solve 18K's problem in Hong Kong and Macau, then no one could. Thinking of this, Chuanshan felt relieved. Since he had already revealed such a powerful trump card, his opponent should have no other way. Perhaps everything that Choshan had done was just a facade. In fact, he was already very afraid in his heart. He didn't have any tricks up his sleeves and could only use this kind of behavior to confuse himself. Yes, it must be like this. Chuanshan affirmed himself again. He told himself that he must believe in his own strength. Chapter 3683. Wei Chengwen, one of the dozen or so top bosses in 18K. Over the years, Wei Chengwen was mainly responsible for contacting the people in the continent. Whether it was the influential people, the rich people, or the people with means and manpower, Wei Chengwen would try his best to visit them, contact them, and make friends with them. This was also for 18K's development in the mainland. Actually, this couldn't be said. The mainland was a society that absolutely didn't condone the development of underworld society. Although this kind of thing couldn't be eliminated, it could only be limited as much as possible. This also made 18K not dare to be arrogant and despotic in the mainland. They could only do many things carefully and secretly. At this time, they needed the help of the mainland's forces. Wei Chengwen was very clear about how difficult it was to deal with some of the forces in the mainland. If 18K didn't establish good relationships with those forces, it would definitely be much more difficult than now. Previously, Wei Chengwen had encountered forces that he couldn't afford to offend. At that time, he was even forced to kneel down and then rolled out with his tail between his legs. Ever since that incident happened to Wei Chengwen swore that he must maintain all the relationships in the mainland. He knew that only by maintaining the relationships in the mainland could he prevent himself from rolling out with his tail between his legs. Things that 18K couldn't solve in the mainland could be solved by some powerful people in the mainland. Sometimes, they might give you the green light with just one sentence. Slowly, Wei Chengwen discovered the truth. Developing 18K's own forces in the mainland was equivalent to *T. Not to mention how difficult it was to develop. Even if it was developed, it definitely wouldn't be that useful. The truly awesome and powerful people wouldn't buy it. Those who could be dealt with didn't need 18K's forces in the mainland to deal with them. Therefore, developing 18K's forces in the mainland was more or less useless. It was tasteless, but a pity to abandon it. Wei Chengwen's main path now was to increase his relationship with the mainland's forces. To Wei Chengwen, Chuan Shan was definitely a good friend that he needed to protect. Chuan Shan was very rich and had a high status in the mainland. Many people would give him face. This was what Wei Chengwen valued the most. If he had to rank the people of the continent, he would make this choice. The first type was people with power, the second type was people with face, the third type was people with money, and the fourth type was people with manpower. Chuan Shan belonged to the second and the third type of people. Once he had both face and money, he would have a closer relationship with the first type of people. Wei Chengwen could only be considered as the fourth type of person in the continent, and he was at the lower level of the fourth type. Therefore, how could he not care about Chuan Shan? If he could make Chuan Shan owe him a huge favor by removing the head of the Macau region, it would be a very cost-effective thing for Wei Chengwen's future development in China. Wei Chengwen rushed to Australia as fast as he could for this purpose. Bang! Qiu Shan's lackey hurriedly pushed open the door to the room with the most people on the second floor and said in a panic, "Brother Qiu Shan, Boss Wei is here. He's already downstairs." Although Qiu Shan now had the amulet, he was still a little nervous when he heard that Wei Chengwen was here. Qiu Shan and Wei Chengwen were not familiar with these big bosses. As the head of the Macau region, he usually reported to the big boss. "What are you panicking for? Then ask Boss Wei to come up." Qiu Shan said, "His friends are also here. They can't all go down to welcome him." As soon as Qiu Shan's voice fell, Wei Chengwen's voice came from outside the door. "There's no need to welcome him. President Chuan is my distinguished guest. Qiu Shan, I'm very dissatisfied with your hospitality." At the end, Wei Chengwen's voice was a lot heavier. When Wei Chengwen's people appeared in front of him, Qiu Shan stood up and said to Wei Chengwen, "Boss Wei, if Qiu Shan knew that President Chuan was your friend, I definitely wouldn't dare to neglect him." Hee. But I know that Boss Wei is very famous in the continent. I'm afraid that someone will pretend to know you and come here to trick us. You asked me to call you, but you turned off your phone. Qiu Shan, you are getting more and more ruthless. Wei Chengwen looked at Qiu Shan with slight displeasure. Qiu Shan was dumbfounded. He pretended to be stupid and took out his phone. "Really? No. I know. There must be no signal when Boss Wei called me. I just accidentally dropped my phone this afternoon. Nowadays, phones are getting weaker and weaker. When I used Nokia, I dropped it several times a day. I could use it as a brick in a fight even if I didn't have a weapon. Nowadays, phones are very delicate. They break with a touch. The signal must be unstable." Wei Chengwen was too lazy to talk nonsense with Qiu Shan. He walked to Chuan Shan and said, "President Chuan, I'm really sorry. Our people have offended you. Please don't be offended. If you have any requests, just tell me. As long as I can solve it, I will definitely help you solve it." Chuan Shan's face showed some smiles, but this smile was not relieved. Chuan Shan had already felt the confidence in Qiu Shan. This kind of confidence made him very uncomfortable. "Mr. Wei, I really didn't expect that my son in the Macau region would let 18K's people." Chuan Shan said halfway and stopped. "Let your people talk about this." Chuan Shan knew that it was meaningless to say anything. The other party would definitely explain. It was better to let Qiu Shan say it. Then, he would find fault and expose the dark secrets. Wei Chengwen said embarrassedly, "I'm really sorry, President Chuan. Don't worry about this matter. I will definitely punish severely." "Boss Wei, you want to punish our own brother before the matter is clarified. This will make our brothers bitterly disappointed," Qiu Shan reminded. Wei Chengwen looked back at Qiu Shan. "My own brother? Will my own brother not give me face? Boss Wei, look at what you said. How can Qiu Shan not give you face?" Qiu Shan quickly said, "You don't know. He told me that he was your friend. Even if I wasn't sure if he was lying to me, I didn't dare to touch him. If he didn't use your name, I would have already. You would have already done what? Wei Chengwen glared and said, You are really bold. Do you know who President Chuan is? Who do you think you are? Do you believe that I just need to tell the boss to get you out of here? I think you don't want to be the boss anymore. Qiu Shan secretly said in his heart. Fortunately, he called the boss in advance. Otherwise, he would really be scared and wouldn't know what to do when he heard Wei Chengwen's threat. Wei Chengwen, you underestimate me too much. Qiu Shan said to himself in his heart. Chapter 36-84. Boss Wei, it's not up to me to decide. Qiu Shan said calmly, I know my ability is limited, but boss appointed me as the manager of Macau. If there's anything I'm not good enough, I believe boss will make a decision. Using boss to pressure me? Wei Chengwen couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha ha, Qiu Shan, you're not young anymore. Why are you still acting like a young man who just joined 18K? I don't understand what you're saying, Boss Wei. Qiu Shan said, I'm like a young man who just joined 18K. I still have the passion to work for 18K. Wei Chengwen said coldly, Don't change the topic. You know what I mean. A young man who just joined 18K thinks he can succeed after receiving a little reward from boss. Then he becomes arrogant and thinks he doesn't need to respect anyone except boss. Qiu Shan shook his head. I can't do this. It's unfair if Boss Wei says that. I've always been doing my job for 18K and boss. Doing things for 18K? Since you're doing things for 18K, then apologize to Boss Chuan sincerely. If Boss Chuan forgives you, I won't pursue it. Wei Chengwen said, Boss Chuan is a good friend of 18K. Since you know you're doing things for 18K, then you know what you should do. I didn't know Boss Chuan was a friend of 18K. Please forgive me if I offended you. Qiu Shan said immediately. He would definitely give face when it was necessary. Anyway, saying a word wouldn't kill anyone. I didn't think that the famous brother Qiu Shan's attitude towards an old bag of bones like me could change so quickly. Chuan Shan smiled slightly, thinking that he had already taken control of the situation. Qiu Shan smiled and lowered his head. Of course. You're Boss Wei's friend. I naturally have to be respectful to you. Otherwise, Boss Wei will definitely blame me. I can't bear it. Guild leader Chuan, I have to apologize to you for this matter. Just tell me how you think we should deal with this matter, Wei Chengwen said. Chuan Shan smiled. Brother Qiu Shan, are you still in contact with the guy who cheated my son's money? Qiu Shan shook his head. No, I'm not familiar with him. Then do you have any way to help me find him? Chuan Shan smiled and continued. I think 18K owes me an explanation for this matter. I've always been an easy person to talk to. As long as 18K can help me make up for what happened before, I don't mind such a small misunderstanding. Wei Chengwen knew what Chuan Shan meant. He glared at Qiu Shan. Qiu Shan, it shouldn't be difficult for you to find someone in Macau, right? It's not difficult, Boss Wei, but I'm not sure if he has left the Macau region. Qiu Shan said, if he leaves the Macau region, this matter. I'm afraid I won't be able to solve it. Do you expect others to do your own things for you? Wei Chengwen looked at Qiu Shan coldly. His meaning was very simple. He was telling Qiu Shan not to expect him to solve this problem. He didn't have the time for that. However, Qiu Shan was determined. He definitely could not let this matter spread. Boss Wei, to be honest, the other party is really not someone I can afford to offend. I can think of a way to contact them, but I can't afford to offend them. Wei Chengwen glared. Can't afford to offend them? Do you think 18K's brothers are all useless? Or do you think you're useless? How do you contact them? Think of a way to contact them now. Find Miss Lin of the Three Lotus Society and you can contact this person. Qiu Shan said, Boss Wei, you know that I'm not qualified to contact Miss Lin. Even if I find her, she definitely won't recognize me. Wei Chengwen was dumbfounded. How did this matter involve the Three Lotus Society? Choshan could see Wei Chengwen's surprise. He knew that boss would not discuss this matter with Wei Chengwen and the others. Wei Chengwen didn't know what the real situation was. Wait. Three Lotus Society? Miss Lin? Isn't this too different from what we're facing? Wei Chengwen glared. You're talking about Taiwan Island. Choshan said, but at that time, that person contacted Big Miss Lin of Great Bend Island's Three Lotus Society with a phone call. 10 minutes later, boss called me and said that it was all a misunderstanding. He told me not to cause trouble. Wei Chengwen was really stunned. Now that Choshan mentioned boss, he couldn't refute it. After all, this was what boss said. Choshan definitely wouldn't dare to spread rumors. And this. Choshan took out the receipt with the legend's fingerprint. He handed it to Wei Chengwen and said, even so, I brought him back. I hope they can talk it out and resolve any misunderstandings. Don't make our 18K look bad. After all, this is boss's idea. Wei Chengwen was dumbfounded after reading the receipt. Choshan, this bastard, had done it flawlessly. Then I saw this receipt. This is Mr. Chuan's fingerprint. Fingerprints can't be faked. Choshan said. He admitted that he took the money. Then I have to take the money according to 18K's rules. Rules are rules. I can't break them. I don't dare to break them. Chuan Shan frowned. Why was there such a thing? Receipt? What the hell? Boss Wei, what do you think I should do? How can I solve this to satisfy everyone? Choshan threw the problem to Wei Chengwen. It's hard for me. Since Mr. Chuan took the money, then don't break our rules. It's only right for me to ask for money. The legendary battle pet warrior roared. Nonsense. I didn't take the money at all. I didn't do it willingly. Mr. Chuan, should I call you Mr. Chuan like your father or Mr. Carlos? Choshan hesitated and continued, this fingerprint is yours. I did it according to the evidence. You can't blame me. You can only blame your fingerprint. I didn't want to do it. He forced me to do it. The legend was speechless. Choshan looked at Wei Chengwen with an awkward expression. Boss Wei, perhaps you don't know the situation. I brought him back. For the sake of the miss of the Three Lotus Society, I left the matter to them to discuss. At that time, there was only one person and Mr. Chuan had two people. I felt that 2 against 1 wouldn't be a problem. So, Wei Chengwen was actually left speechless. 2 against 1. How could he be forced to sign? This was more or less a joke. We can't beat him. The legend roared. I don't know how to fight. I spent money to hire 18K, but you didn't solve the problem for me. You let me get beaten up in your territory. Spent money to hire? Choshan suddenly asked. Mr. Chuan, if I remember correctly, we haven't received a single cent from you yet. Chapter 3685. Legend was speechless again. He really didn't take a single cent out of his pocket. To be honest, I really hope to help Mr. Chuan solve the problem. Choshan said, but there are many things that are beyond one's control. For example, since you are Boss Wei's friends, I can't not give you face. Choshan, don't beat around the bush. Just say it. Wei Chengwen said. Choshan smiled bitterly. At that time, it was Boss who called me. Boss Wei, how can I not give Boss face? Do you think I dare to say no to him? Wei Chengwen couldn't refute Choshan's question. Choshan had to give him face, but Choshan had to give his boss face even more. Who is the other party? Isn't he from the mainland? How is he related to the Three Lotus Association? Wei Chengwen didn't believe it. He felt that there was a trap. Choshan shrugged. He's from the mainland. But as for why he's related to Miss Lin, I don't know. My status isn't qualified to know these things. Boss Wei, you should know this. Wei Chengwen still had nothing to say about this. Qiu Shan had lowered himself very much and used his boss as a shield for everything. This left Wei Chengwen at a loss of what to do. Qiu Shan, I know. Wei Chengwen said, you don't have to remind me of your status every time you say something. I know who you are. Boss Wei, you worry too much. Qiu Shan said, I don't mean anything else. I just want to say that if Boss Wei was in my position and encountered the problem I'm facing now, how would you solve it? Tell him that he can't give face to the Three Lotus Association's Miss Lin? I can't say that. With my status, I don't dare to speak to him like that. Qiu Shan's words clearly told Wei Chengwen that even his status wasn't high enough. No one had the right to question his boss. Wei Chengwen gritted his teeth. The reason he hated Qiu Shan was because of this. Sometimes, Qiu Shan liked to play word games. Although his posture was low, his words were sarcastic. This made Wei Chengwen very unhappy. But he had no reason to do anything to Qiu Shan. Boss Wei, please don't misunderstand. I didn't mean anything by what I said. Qiu Shan looked at Wei Chengwen with an innocent look again. Wei Chengwen couldn't do anything about it. Qiu Shan, it's best to leave a way out for yourself. If you need my help in the future, maybe I'll give you some face. Boss Wei, it's not that I don't want to give you face, but if I have to choose between you and my boss, I will definitely listen to my boss before I listen to you. Qiu Shan said, there's nothing wrong with me saying this, right? Even if boss finds out, he won't blame me, right? Of course, boss won't blame you. Wei Chengwen sneered at Qiu Shan. I won't blame you either. I feel a little creeped out when you say that, Boss Wei. Qiu Shan shook his head and said, this matter is quite big now. If Boss Wei insists on helping President Chuan find someone, then I'll call boss now and ask him to contact Miss Lin of the Three Lotus Association. He'll definitely be able to find out where the other party is. Are you threatening me? Wei Chengwen stepped forward and grabbed Qiu Shan's collar. Qiu Shan spread out his hands and raised them on both sides of his shoulders. Boss Wei, I wouldn't dare, but this is the only way I can help you. Although Wei Chengwen's heart itched with hatred, there was nothing he could do about Qiu Shan. Qiu Shan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I really don't have any other way. Boss Wei, please don't make it difficult for me. Actually, I don't dare to ask boss about this. If you ask him, the effect might be better. Wei Chengwen was so angry that he pushed Qiu Shan away. Chuan Shan could see that Wei Chengwen was in a difficult position. Obviously, this matter wasn't something he could cover with one hand. President Chuan, I'm afraid this matter isn't as simple as I thought. Wei Chengwen looked at Chuan Shan and said, I didn't expect that the person playing 5-card stud with your son is related to Miss Lin of the Three Lotus Association on Taiwan Island. Oh? Is 18K afraid of the Three Lotus Association? Chuan Shan asked with a smile. Wei Chengwen shook his head. I can't say that I'm afraid, but the relationship between the two sides has always been good. Our 18K also owes Elder Lin Si-hai of the Three Lotus Association a favor, so, I understand. Chuan Shan nodded. Since Mr. Wei is in a difficult position, I definitely can't trouble you. Wei Chengwen said embarrassedly, this matter is indeed a little complicated, but no need. Chuan Shan shook his head. I'm a person with principles. I won't bring trouble to others because of my own matters. Mr. Wei, if we can leave the Macau region safely, we will owe you a huge favor. Chuan Shan's words made Wei Chengwen's heart skip a beat. What did this mean? At least now, Chuan Shan's mood was very depressed. He wasn't happy at all. If Wei Chengwen encountered any problems in Huaxia in the future, how could he tell Chuan Shan? Chuan Shan definitely wouldn't help him solve any problems. This made him offend someone. However, Wei Chengwen couldn't do anything. His boss wouldn't give in when it involved the Three Lotus Association. This meant that he had to let Chuan Shan accept this situation. President Chuan, I'm really sorry. But don't worry, I'll help you as much as possible in private with my personal reputation. Wei Chengwen promised. Chuan Shan smiled. In private? Who do you think you are in private? Even if you have the title of 18K, it's not as useful as Chuan Shan in the mainland. If you don't have the backing of 18K, what can you do in private? Ridiculous. President Chuan, you must give me a chance. I promise you'll be satisfied. Wei Chengwen took a deep breath. Then I'll have to trouble Mr. Wei. Chuan Shan finished and wanted to leave with his people. However, Qiu Shan stopped them again. Wait a minute, President Chuan. This matter. Although I can give face to Boss Wei, but we still have a business deal of 600 million. The fingerprints on this piece of paper really belong to your son. Wei Chengwen took a deep breath in his heart. He didn't expect Qiu Shan to give him a difficult problem at this time. He didn't give him any face at all. Are you done? Wei Chengwen glared at Qiu Shan. Qiu Shan said helplessly, Boss Wei, this money isn't in my pocket. Boss knows this too. This is 18K's money. I can't make this decision. I beg you, don't make it difficult for me. Otherwise, you can call boss in front of me and ask him to waive the money. Otherwise, I can't explain it. Chapter 3686. Wei Chengwen turned hostile on the spot and kicked the table in front of him. Qiu Shan, how dare you talk to me like that? I think you really don't want to stay here anymore? Boss Wei, I've been emphasizing that I don't mean anything else. I'm not just saying that. Qiu Shan shook his head and said, Before you came, I asked Boss. Boss told me that 18K owes President Lin of the Three Lotus Association a favor and we must remember it. Chuan Shan was really disappointed this time. He didn't hide the disappointment on his face at all. He didn't expect that he would stumble in front of a small manager of the Macau region even after bringing up Wei Chengwen. Where was his dignity? Moreover, his son was right in front of him. Did he want him to bow down? This was simply impossible. Boss Wei, I beg you to take pity on me. Qiu Shan said, I'm just trying to make a living. Boss reminded me personally. Do you think I should pretend to forget it? I've only been on the phone for an hour. Boss Wei, I'm in a difficult position. Wei Chengwen swallowed his saliva and looked at Qiu Shan coldly. You better not give me a chance to use your weakness against you. Don't ever. Don't worry. Qiu Shan nodded. He did not take Wei Chengwen's threat seriously. After all, the only person in 18K who could directly decide his life and death was the boss. If Wei Chengwen dared to slander him in front of the boss, Qiu Shan could bring up today's matter and add fuel to the fire in front of the boss. As long as he could guarantee this, Qiu Shan wasn't afraid that Wei Chengwen would do anything to him. Unless one day in the future, Wei Chengwen could replace boss as the real decision-maker of 18K. Otherwise, he would never be able to step on him. That's right. Never. Mr. Wei, it seems that if we don't pay today, your people won't let us leave, right? Chuan Shan sneered and said, It seems that Mr. Wei really disappointed me. If I knew this, I wouldn't have contacted Mr. Wei directly. President Chuan, please listen to me. I didn't expect things to be so complicated. Wei Chengwen frowned and said, You and I both know very well whether or not it's complicated. Chuan Shan said, You know what kind of reputation I, Chuan Shan, have in the mainland. I will never owe anyone who has truly helped me. If 18K really helps my son get back the 9 billion, I will give you all the 600 million employment fee without a single cent less. But you didn't get the 9 billion, and you still want the employment fee. That's not right. Wei Chengwen didn't say anything, but he glanced at the receipt. No matter what the truth was, as long as Qiu Shan had this, he was on the right side in front of boss. If I don't pay the money today, will you not be able to protect me? Chuan Shan looked at Wei Chengwen seriously. He wanted to see the answer in Wei Chengwen's eyes. Wei Chengwen didn't say anything. He just stood there silently. All right, I understand. Chuan Shan was completely disappointed. President Chuan. Wei Chengwen wanted to say something, but he felt that whatever he said would be meaningless. Chuan Shan didn't even look at him. Since things have come to this point, I have nothing to say. If 18K wants this money, you don't have to give me any explanation. I don't want to listen to any meaningless nonsense. Wei Chengwen swore that this was the most humiliating thing he had ever experienced in his life. Because of such a matter, he actually lost such an important partner in the continent. Damn it! Damn Qiu Shan! Qiu Shan pointed at the computer on the table. Mr. Chuan, if I remember correctly, you should know the account number. Chuan Shan looked up at Qiu Shan with a chilling gaze. The account number you gave me is from the mainland. This is 18K's business. You don't have the right to ask. Qiu Shan directly cut off Chuan Shan's question. Wei Chengwen seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw. He stared at Qiu Shan. Why is it from the mainland? Boss Wei, I don't need to explain this to you. Even if you want to know, we can talk about it in private. But I want to tell you that this is limited to private conversations. I won't say anything in front of outsiders. Qiu Shan shook his head. Wei Chengwen spat. Qiu Shan, don't give me that look. Private conversations? Humph. Who do you think you are? I think it's necessary for me to ask boss about this. Qiu Shan was expressionless. As you wish. Don't think that I don't dare. Wei Chengwen thought that he had grasped a chance of survival. He dialed the boss's number without hesitation. However, Wei Chengwen didn't expect that the boss didn't give him any chance to speak after picking up the phone. Boss Wei, I know why you called me. But listen to me now. Wei Chengwen had no choice but to listen obediently. What happened in Macau should be resolved by the people in charge of Macau. If you want to intervene in this matter, I will naturally give you face. However, this matter involves the Three Lotus Society. I hope you can think about what's more important and what's more important. Wei Chengwen wanted to interrupt, but this money. No matter how Qiu Shan deals with this money, he will put the Three Lotus Society first. So, I hope you can cooperate with him. No matter what decision he makes, it will be my decision. It will be for the benefit of 18K. The boss rudely interrupted Wei Chengwen. If there's nothing else, I hope you won't interfere in this matter. Wei Chengwen even wanted to die now. Boss, do you know how important President Chuan is to me? Do you know President Chuan's status and relationships in the mainland? I don't know, the boss said straightforwardly. But I'm sure that you know how important the Three Lotus Society is to 18K. I'm also sure that you know how much President Lin helped 18K back then. Wei Chengwen was speechless. He had no way to refute. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up first. When only the busy tone was left, Wei Chengwen's face was completely pale. Qiu Shan also heaved a sigh of relief. He wasn't sure how the matter would turn out just now because he hadn't discussed the money with the boss. He had originally planned to act first and report later. After all, this matter involved the Three Lotus Society. The boss wouldn't say anything about it. Now, it was even better. The boss directly said that this matter was completely up to him. No matter what decision he made or judgment, no one had the right to interfere. With the boss's words, Qiu Shan was even more confident. On the other hand, Wei Chengwen sat in a chair in the corner and didn't say anything. He definitely couldn't keep his relationship with Chuan Shan. Recently, the boss had become less and less concerned about his relationship with Hua Xia. It was all because of Hua Xia's increased anti-corruption efforts. Now, there was less and less meat in the mainland. It wasn't important anymore. Chapter 3687. Chuan Shan didn't have any expectations at all. Instead, he was more open-minded than before. He knew very well that this sum of money wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure from the end of the contract. Mr. Wei, I won't make things difficult for you. Chuan Shan said indifferently, 600 million yuan is nothing to me. Chuan Shan said it casually, but only he knew how important 600 million yuan was to him. In the whole Huaxia and even the whole world, there were not many people who did not care about 600 million yuan. Even the richest billionaire would care about 600 million yuan. Would a person with a net worth of only 100 yuan be willing to spend 6 yuan? Obviously, he would not. The same logic. Besides, Chuan Shan was not worth 10 billion yuan. Of course, since Chuan Shan chose to come this time, it was impossible for him to not bring any money. He needed to leave himself a way out. It took him 2 days to raise 600 million yuan. He thought that this matter could end peacefully, and then he would use the money to pay the debts of the casino. After all, there was no reason for Legend not to return the money he borrowed from the casino. If he did not pay the debts of the casino, he would not be able to use the casino in Macau to transfer funds. Now it seemed that he could only use the money here. Chuan Shan did not hesitate. Since he had decided, he would do it directly. For him, wasting time was the most meaningless thing. Soon, Chuan Shan used Qiu Shan's computer to complete the transfer. Everything was done under Qiu Shan's eyes. "Thank you for your cooperation, President Chuan." Qiu Shan smiled. "I hope we will have a chance to cooperate in the future." Chuan Shan said and glared at his son, "Let's go." This time, Qiu Shan did not stop him. Wei Chenguen wanted to say something polite, but Chuan Shan did not look at him at all. He turned and left. Legend could finally leave safely. He returned to the car with his father and secretary. He could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. "You bastard!" Chuan Shan scolded him after he got in the car. "All the money is here. How are you going to pay the debts of the casino? Think of a way yourself. If you can't pay the debts, you can go back to the United States and sell all your houses and cars. I don't have the money to pay for your stupidity." The Legend didn't believe him. He looked at his father with a smile. "You just said that 600 million is nothing to you. You believe such nonsense?" Chuan Shan wanted to slap him to death. The legend of 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 the legend. "Dad, since it has already happened, we can only accept it," the woman said softly, trying to calm Chuan Shan down. "He can only endure?" Chuan Shan said disdainfully. "What did he endure? I will bear all the sins he has committed." The woman nodded. "It is indeed his fault. Haven't I emphasized it many, many times? Don't waste any of our chances. Now, every sum of money we transfer may be our last." Chuan Shan glared at his son. "How much of the money I transferred to the United States is left? Take away the houses, your waste, and the necessary investment for the immigration. We don't have much left. So, we can't waste any of our money. Do you understand? Can you understand human language or not?" The Legend was scolded without a word. He sat in the corner of the last row of the car. "I'm telling you, don't let me down again," Chuan Shan said seriously. "I have no patience for you. Dad. I was wrong." Under the woman's constant reminders, the Legend finally admitted his mistake. "I will never do such a thing again. I promise." "In the future?" Chuan Shan sneered. "Do you think you will have a future? I'm telling you, even if I have the chance to get more money, I will never let you do such things again. You are a piece of trash." "Trash? You gave birth to trash, and you raised them yourself." The Legend muttered in his heart, but he didn't dare to say it out loud. He only knew what kind of person his father was. Once he got angry, he would eat him alive. "Dad, please give me another chance. I will never disobey you again." The Legend said, "Please give me the money from the casino. Otherwise, the people from the casino will ask 18K's people to come to me." Chuan Shan stared at him without saying a word. "Dad, you saw your friend just now. What is he? He is a piece of trash. He can't even solve such a small problem." The Legend shook his head disappointedly. He was asking for a beating by saying those words. Slap. Chuan Shan's slap was rewarded to him once again. The legend was stunned. He didn't realize what he said wrong. He thought he didn't make any mistakes at all. What did you do to me? The Legend of Legends said, Am I wrong? Isn't your friend a good-for-nothing? If he was really a capable person, we wouldn't be in such a miserable state. Our money was simply robbed. Do you know the relationship between the Three Lotus Society and 18K? Chuan Shan asked. The Legend of Legends shook his head. He didn't know anything about the Three Lotus Society. He didn't even know much about 18K. He wasn't interested in these things. He was only interested in the organizations in the American Empire because he always wanted to join them. He liked the arrogance of the gangs in the American Empire. I don't know. Chuan Shan knew that his useless son would give such an answer. If you don't know, then shut your mouth. Right now, the Tri-Lotus gang is asking 18K for money, so we can't keep the money. If the Tri-Lotus gang asks 18K for your life, then I won't be able to take your life today. Do you understand? The Legend of Legend opened his eyes wide and didn't know how to answer. Why would they want his life? In his eyes, these guys were just slaves to money. As long as there was money, these people would be loyal. What they wanted was money. Why would they want his life? President, where are we going now? The secretary in the passenger seat turned around and asked carefully. They didn't leave after getting in the car. The driver was waiting for them to give the order. Of course we are going to the casino. You don't need me to tell you that. Chuan Shan glared at him and scolded, Where else can we go except for the casino? Are you going to be the same as my stupid son? We don't have money to pay for the hole. Don't we have to solve it? Things that needed to be solved still needed to be solved. Do you understand? Drive. Go. Don't waste my time. Chapter 3688. Choshan was not in a hurry to leave the tea house. He ordered people to prepare good tea, water, and cigarettes for Wei Chenguen. Unfortunately, Wei Chenguen was not in the mood to drink tea at all. At this moment, he wished he could kill Choshan. This bastard actually had the nerve to sit down and chat with him over tea at a time like this? I'm really sorry about this matter. I apologize to Boss Wei here. Choshan served the tea. Boss also explained it personally. It's really not my fault. Boss Wei, if there's anything that makes you feel wronged, I hope you won't take it to heart. Don't worry. I won't take it to heart. Wei Chenguen said faintly, but Choshan, you may not understand what kind of person I am. Choshan nodded. I may not understand, but I have heard that Boss Wei is a person with a good memory. He also knows that it is never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. That is why I want to explain clearly. This matter is really not my intention. I hope Boss Wei can understand. Wei Chenguen stared at Choshan's eyes and smiled without saying a word. Choshan signaled Wei Chenguen to drink tea, but Wei Chenguen took the teacup but did not drink. Wei Chenguen still looked at Choshan without saying a word. Choshan signaled with his eyes again. As long as Wei Chenguen drank this cup of tea, they would still be good friends. Unfortunately, everything could not go as he wished. Wei Chenguen's smiling mouth suddenly cracked. Then, he looked at Choshan with a strange smile. He slowly poured the whole cup of tea in his hand on the ground in front of Choshan. I also hope that our friendship can last forever. I'm afraid this is not the meaning of friendship lasting forever, right? Choshan said. Choshan, you should know the simplest truth. Maybe one day, I may become a real leader, and you can only be a manager in Macau forever. Wei Chenguen threatened, Don't worry, if one day I become a real manager, I will definitely change your position. Boss Wei wants to promote me? Choshan did not believe it when he said this, but what else could he say? He could only face it with a smile. The grudge between him and Wei Chenguen was set. Choshan could not change the situation. He had no choice. Yes, of course. Wei Chenguen said, At that time, I will remember everything that happened today. I will remember every word you said today clearly. If that's the case, As long as there's a chance for Boss Wei to become a real leader in the future, I will support and help you 100%. Choshan's words were ironic. Unless Wei Chengwen was an idiot, he would never not understand it. Ha 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 ha. Good, very good, very good. Wei Chengwen glared and said, "That's what I want from you." Wei Chengwen gnashed his teeth in anger as if he wanted to swallow Choshan alive. Choshan smiled and made a gesture to see Wei Chengwen off. "In that case, I won't keep Boss Wei here for long. I hope Boss Wei can be promoted in the near future." Don't worry. In my lifetime, I will definitely have the chance to ascend to the highest position in 18K. Wei Chengwen said this without any hesitation. Choshan was glad that he secretly turned on the recording on his phone. Wei Chengwen was a few years older than the boss. Therefore, once his words reached the boss's ears, Choshan believed that Wei Chengwen would not have much time in 18K in the future. Although Choshan did not know Wei Chengwen very well, Choshan knew the boss very well. Why could the boss become the boss? This question was too simple. It was because he was ruthless enough. It was because he had enough means and power. It was because he would solve any possible crisis in advance. Wei Chengwen's words were no different from seeking death. When Choshan watched Wei Chengwen leave the tea house, he finally sent the recording on his phone to the boss. To deal with Wei Chengwen, Choshan did not need to do anything at all. He only needed to convey Wei Chengwen's ambition to the boss. What he needed to do was to listen to the news. He needed to listen to the news that Wei Chengwen would die in a certain matter in the future. Car accident. Revenge. In short, there was no need to be surprised about anything that happened in the port area, especially those who were gangsters. Choshan looked at his brother beside him. He also knew very well that before Wei Chengwen died, he needed a few trustworthy people to follow him. He needed to do everything carefully. He did not want to be the person who suddenly disappeared from the world. Choshan's phone suddenly rang. He thought it was the boss, but the person who called was Su Yun. "Brother Choshan, I have received the money. I'm sorry to trouble you with this matter." Su Yun smiled and said, "Don't worry. I will definitely speak up for you in front of Miss Lin. I believe that the boss of 18K will also hear about your praise from Miss Lin." Hee. Thank you very much. Choshan smiled, but he felt helpless. He was afraid that he would not have the fortune to enjoy it. In order to do this, Choshan really took a huge risk. In this matter, Choshan was not only giving face to the Three Lotus Gang and Miss Lin, but also out of fear of Su Yun. He had seen Su Yun's skills with his own eyes, so Choshan did not doubt at all. Even if he had so many brothers protecting him now, if Su Yun wanted to take his life, it would still be as easy as flipping his hand. I believe that we can definitely become friends in the future. Su Yun's words were at least 70% polite. As for the money, I thank you on behalf of the children in the poor mountainous areas of Huaxia who need this money. Choshan was stunned. Children in the poor mountainous areas? I am a person with principles. Su Yun, this money is largely due to Brother Choshan's contribution. Therefore, in the next 2 years, at least 10 primary schools will appear in the remote mountainous areas of the mainland, named Choshan Hope School. This is my gratitude to you. Choshan actually felt inexplicably touched. Choshan was only an 18K hooligan, but with Su Yun's actions, he actually felt like he had become a philanthropist. Perhaps this gratitude has no practical meaning to you, but no, to me, this is the most meaningful gratitude I have ever received in my life. Choshan interrupted Su Yun, then said to Su Yun, thank you for letting me feel the taste of being respected." Su Yun did not expect Choshan to say this, but he felt that Choshan was a man of character. "Brother Choshan, if you come to the mainland in the future, remember to contact me. I will definitely treat you well." Su Yun gave Choshan a promise. These words were not said casually, and Su Yun was a man of his words. "That's for sure." Choshan nodded. "There will definitely be an opportunity. I also hope to have the opportunity to see the school named after me. Chapter 36-89. Everything seemed to be solved, but in fact, the trouble had just begun. The undercurrent was surging. The reason why Su Yun gave Cho Shan his card and asked the heirs to transfer money into it was to leave a clue for the heirs. To transfer money, one must know the name of the person who opened the account. Su Yun did this not because he was careless, but because he deliberately exposed himself. As long as Su Yun exposed himself, the Chuan family would naturally find someone to deal with him. In the mainland, a person who could transfer such a large amount of money at once was certainly not an ordinary person. Su Yun's name was enough for the Chuan family to investigate. At this moment, Chuan Shan had arrived at the casino, and his mind was full of this matter. Chuan Shan didn't know if it was the casino's VIP room that deliberately made things difficult for him. In short, this situation made him very unhappy. But he could only endure it. He didn't come here to pay back the money, so the Chuan family naturally had the right to look down on him. While waiting, Chuan Shan didn't idle. He had already asked his subordinates to start the investigation in China. Since Su Yun left his name, it was easy to find out. After all, there were very few people in the country called Su Yun who had the strength to come to Macau to play with such a big chip. Sure enough, his subordinates quickly gave him the only suspect, the boss of Sky Entertainment. From beginning to end, Chuang Si didn't tell his father that Su Yun once said that he was in the film and television industry. Chuan Shan showed Chuang Si the photo sent to him by his subordinates. Chuang Si immediately shouted, "Yes, it's him. It's him who set me up. He said that he was in the film and television industry." Chuan Shan's face was quite ugly. He directly asked, "Why didn't you just tell me that he was in the film and television industry?" If Chuang Si had told him that, Chuan Shan wouldn't have needed to do any investigation at all. He wouldn't have hesitated at all to conclude that it was Su Yun from Sky Entertainment. Chuang Si replied with a blank face, "You didn't ask me." "You're really an idiot." What else could Chuan Shan say? He had nothing to say at all. His son was a complete piece of trash, a completely useless piece of trash. Of course, the legend wasn't happy, but he didn't dare to say anything when his father was treating him like this. "Dad, I know you think of me as trash, but can you not always talk about me in front of others?" Legend seemed to be bargaining. "Do you think I want to embarrass myself?" Chuan Shan was extremely embarrassed. "You better shut your mouth before I get angry. I don't want to hear any more of your voice." The legendary battle pet warrior nodded and looked away. Everyone could see the embarrassment on his face. As a man, even his own father didn't give him any face. What else could he expect? "Dad, since we found this person, do we still have hope of getting the money back?" She knew that Chuan Shan was angry now, but she was his daughter-in-law after all. Even if she said something wrong, she wouldn't be scolded, right? Chuan Shan was indeed angry, but he could still control it. It was natural for him to be angry at his son, but it was inappropriate for him to be angry at his daughter-in-law. "If it were you, do you think you would return the money?" Chuan Shan answered with a rhetorical question. Anyone who had won such a large sum of money through the casino's fair and square channels, who would return the money? Why should they return it? It wasn't a small sum of money. If they returned it, they would consider it as making friends. They could cooperate in a certain field in the future. Maybe they could achieve a win-win situation. But this was money calculated in hundreds of millions. This made it impossible for anyone to back down. Chuan Shan could only rack his brain to think of a way to solve this problem. "But, Dad, in the mainland, with your face and your identity." The woman wanted to say something. "My face, my identity." Shouldn't you consider the identity of the person you're talking about before you say that? Shouldn't you consider who he is? Chuan Shan asked back. "What kind of person do you think the boss of Sky Entertainment Group is? Was he a person who would bow down and apologize to me the moment he saw me? Do you think he needs to flatter me?" Facing Chuan Shan's series of questions, the woman didn't dare to say anything. "Don't talk nonsense if you don't understand." Legend took the opportunity to rebuke the woman. Chuan Shan glared at him fiercely, and Legend didn't dare to say another word. "We don't have the right to negotiate with him," Chuan Shan said unhappily. "The person you met this time is not the kind of person who would play tricks. You are unlucky. That's why you lost so much money. Let me tell you, Sky Entertainment Group's annual profit is a number you can't even imagine. That's why Su Yun of Sky Entertainment Group would never play tricks for you." Legend was relieved when he heard that. "Dad, since you said he doesn't care about the money, why don't you just talk to him?" "Did I say he doesn't care? He said he wouldn't play tricks for the money, but he doesn't care about the money," Chuan Shan emphasized. Therefore, it was impossible to ask him for money directly. "Dad, since he is someone with status, we must have a way to talk to him." The woman tried to comfort Chuan Shan. Chuan Shan did have an idea. He thought it was necessary to have a good talk. If he could bring benefits to Sky Entertainment Group and build a good relationship with them, it would be best if it was a win-win relationship. Then, this problem would be easily solved. Of course, Chuan Shan wouldn't ask for it directly. As long as he had a good relationship with them, he would find a way to draw them out. It would be easier to solve the problem. Chuan Shan had too many things on his mind. He wished he could clear his mind, but all kinds of things filled every corner of his mind. How good would it be if he had a son who could share his burden? Chuan Shan really envied those children who didn't need to be meticulously taken care of by their fathers. Those children could share too much of the family's burden. But what about his son? A bastard who couldn't share his burden and kept causing trouble for himself. "President, their people are here." The secretary opened the door and walked in. He quickly walked to Chuan Shan's side and reminded him in a low voice. The secretary had been standing outside the door waiting for news. Chuan Shan had asked him to keep an eye on him. As soon as he heard the other party's voice, he would immediately come in and report to him. He needed to adjust his mood. He didn't want the people in the casino to think his son was a piece of trash. Because after this problem was solved, he still needed the casino to transfer the money out. If the people in the casino all thought his son was a piece of trash, it would be difficult for him to survive. "Cheer up. Show some strength." Chuan Shan turned his head to remind his son. Chapter 3690. After Su Yun received the money, of course, he also traced the account that sent the money. However, Chuan Shan was not that stupid. He did not use his own account, but an account that Su Yun could not figure out through this account. In this way, Su Yun could not do anything. He had already expected that the other party would use this method to hide it. However, Su Yun was not worried. He believed that the other party would soon arrange for someone to cause trouble for him. Moreover, he had been back for a day. Qin Wan-er and the others might already have some clues. After Qin Wan-er and the others went to work, there had been no movement. In the end, Su Yun could not help but take the initiative to look for them. The people in the police station were familiar with Chairman Ye's luxury car in Xinkai Hotel. Because of Yi Fala's special identity, she had to report to Qin Wan-er every month. Everyone knew the reason. However, this time, the person who opened the door and got out of the car was Su Yun. Some people were unfamiliar with Su Yun's face and did not understand what was going on. However, most people were familiar with Su Yun's face. Before Su Yun could ask someone took the initiative to walk forward. "Are you Chairman Su? Are you here to look for our Bureau Qin?" Bureau Qin is in the Household Registration Department on the 3rd floor. "Why don't I take you there?" In the face of the enthusiastic invitation, Su Yun smiled and shook his head. "No need to trouble yourself. I can go there myself." "Thank you. Chairman Su, you're welcome. Just treat this as your own home." At this moment, Tai Kong suddenly walked out of the building with a stack of documents in his hand. He raised his head and saw Su Yun. The corners of his mouth immediately curled up and he quickened his steps. "Chairman Su, why are you here? Why didn't you call us in advance?" "I was worried that you were all too busy, so I didn't dare to disturb you," Su Yun said. "No matter how busy I am, I still have time to receive you. Tai Kong laughed. When the people around saw that Tai Kong and Su Yun were so familiar with each other, they all joked and asked when Uncle Chin had established such a good relationship with Chairman Su. Tai Kong laughed and patted those guys' shoulders, telling them to do what they were supposed to do and not disturb him. Uncle Chin, you can go do your own things. I know where she is. I'll go find her myself, Su Yun said. No need, I'll take you there. It was unknown when Man Yu had appeared behind everyone. Without saying anything, she grabbed Su Yun's arm and said, Let me tell you, he is my Prince Charming. Do you see? Those who like to ask me out on WeChat should open their eyes wide and spread the news to each other. See what you're capable of and then think about whether you want to pursue me. Su Yun shook his head helplessly. You're making enemies for me. But Man Yu didn't think so. After all, no one dared to provoke Su Yun. If she used Su Yun as a shield, she could make many young men in the unit who wanted to pursue her feel a little inferior. That way, she would be much more relaxed. Anyway, Man Yu wouldn't be interested in the people in her unit at all. Therefore, she didn't care about making everyone who wanted to chase after her retreat. Do you see the shoes on my feet? Limited edition, co-branded by famous designers. Humph, this is one of the small gifts my Prince Charming gave me, Man Yu said proudly. She wasn't lying. Su Yun couldn't refute her. Man Yu, aren't you afraid that Chief Chin will be jealous? Be careful. Yeah, aren't you too bold? None of your business. Chief Chin won't be jealous of me. Don't think too much. If you want to complain to Chief Chin, don't waste your energy, Man Yu said. I'll directly take my Prince Charming and go find Chief Chin. After saying that, Man Yu pulled Su Yun away. Su Yun couldn't push her away, right? That wouldn't be giving her face. Tai Kong smiled. Hurry up and go up. Don't make a fuss. You all still need to work. Go do what you need to do. If Chief Chin hears this, he will definitely scold you all. After Man Yu pulled Su Yun away, the others all left one after another. At that moment, Qin Wan was waiting for the results of the Household Registration Investigation Department. They had investigated all the household registrations in the whole of Shenzhen, and even the whole of Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai. There were many people with the surname Chuan. After all, Huaxia was big and had a large population. There were many people with different surnames. It should be known that in Huaxia, there were people with the surnames Si, Nan, Lao, Du, Yin, Chou, and Wei. There might be fewer of them. Some people changed their surnames because it was unpleasant to hear, but they still existed. Qin Wan didn't find any clues about the transfer of the legendary household registrations among those people with the surname Chuan. At that moment, Man Yu brought Su Yun. She knocked on the door and walked in directly. She said loudly, Chief Chin, my Prince Charming is here. Maybe he wants to see if you have found anything. Qin Wan raised her head and saw that Su Yun really came. She thought Man Yu was joking with her. Why are you here? Qin Wan asked. Didn't I tell you to rest for a few days? You can't help here. There are no clues yet. Su Yun said. Qin Wan nodded. Yeah. After all, there are too many household registrations in Shenzhen. It's a bit difficult to investigate. Now that I'm almost done, there are no clues. This means that the Chuan family is probably not registered in Shenzhen. Then what do you plan to do? Continue to investigate in Yanjing? Or do you want to investigate in the whole country? Su Yun asked. Qin Wan nodded. If I can't find anything, I will definitely keep investigating. Then you should stop. Su Yun, you will be exhausted if you keep investigating like this. Besides, if you finish investigating in the end, it might not be wrong. They might have changed their names, or they might have found other ways to cover it up. Then what should we do? Qin Wan frowned and looked at Su Yun. We can't just let it. Of course we can't let it go like this. Su Yun shook his head. But there is a way that will be easier and simpler than this. Qin Wan and Man Yu both opened their eyes wide and looked at Su Yun. They wanted to know what Su Yun was going to do. I left an account with them. I asked 18K to force them to transfer a sum of money to me. The account is my private account. Su Yun smiled. So, they should be able to find out my identity easily. I believe that it won't take long for someone to find me. Qin Wan and Man Yu were instantly dumbfounded. Su Yun's idea was good, but it sounded like he was sacrificing 800 of his own men to kill 1,000 of his enemies. He exposed himself all of a sudden. How dangerous it was. You really surprised us. Qin Wan scolded. You are too reckless, aren't you? If they... I've thought it through. Su Yun smiled faintly and said, Don't worry, the other party can't do anything to me. Even if they hired someone to deal with me, they would have to find a way to get the money. They can't just get a sniper to kill me from afar. That way, they wouldn't be able to get the money. Su Yun smiled faintly. Qin Wan and Man Yu couldn't refute his words. Chapter 3691. Qin Wan shook her head helplessly and said to her colleagues in the household registration department, Thank you for your hard work today. You guys should go home now. I'll treat you guys to dinner when you're done. Don't mention it, Director Qin. This is what we should do. The colleague from the household registration department laughed. If there's a way that we don't have to work overtime in the future, say it earlier. Otherwise, it would be awkward if we find out that the work we do is meaningless. Ha ha ha. It was all a joke. They didn't feel depressed because they had done something for nothing. Su Yun could feel the change that one person could have on a group of people. It was already time to get off work, but there was no feeling of desolation in the station, especially among the young ones who had yet to get married. They did not treat working overtime as a burden at all. Instead, they chatted and laughed in a relaxed manner. Maybe this was Qin Wan-er's influence on them. Without Qin Wan-er's influence, the atmosphere here wouldn't be like this. Come, follow me to the office. Qin Wan-er stood up and said to Su Yun. Then she looked at Man Yu and said, You're off work too. Don't. Director Qin. I know you don't want me to be a third wheel, but you guys must be going to dinner later, right? Bring me along. Man Yu said coquettishly. You are such a troublesome little demon. Qin Wan couldn't do anything to her. If you are willing to work overtime, you can come with us. The dinner thing hasn't been settled yet. Man Yu nodded and thought, Anyway, I'm not hungry now. I'm not in a hurry. I'll wait for a while. Qin Wan took Su Yun to the office and asked him directly, What are you thinking? When you made this decision, we were all there. Why didn't you discuss it with us? If I discussed it with you, would there be a result? Su Yun asked back. Qin Wan stared at him and said, Of course there would be a result. You definitely wouldn't agree with me doing this. No matter how I explain it, this kind of thing is not dangerous for me. You also wouldn't want to transfer your own things to me. Su Yun, so you won't agree, but I won't listen to you either. So to me, there's no point in discussing it. Qin Wan was speechless. Chief Qin, I think Prince Charming is right. That is indeed the case. He won't listen to you at all. Man Yu said, but now, our idol seems to have helped us solve another big problem. Then let him wait for the other party to come knocking on his door. Do you know what kind of people will come? Qin Wan glared at Man Yu. Man Yu shrugged. She had confidence in Su Yun. At least from what I can see, many things that we think we can't solve should be no problem for our idol. You really? Qin Wan was dumbfounded. Don't you trust him too much? She should trust me. Su Yun smiled. You should learn from her on this matter. If you don't trust me, who do you trust? Is there anyone better? Qin Wan shook her head helplessly. Since it has come to this, there is no other way. No other way is a good way. Su Yun felt that this was quite good. At least he didn't need to spend effort to find the other party. The other party could take the initiative to come knocking on his door. This was quite good. Qin Wan suddenly looked at Su Yun and said with a serious tone, "Do you think I should contact the special police team and arrange some people to protect you from a distance? Do you want them to protect you or do you want me to worry for them?" Su Yun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He shook his head. "You don't need to. I haven't fallen to the point where I need the special police team to protect me. You haven't fallen to that point, but I'm especially afraid of bringing trouble to you because of me. If something happens, how can I explain it to Sister Qing Shuang and the others?" Qin Wan was worried. "I found that one thing about you hasn't changed. Su Yun, you just like to worry for nothing. Prince Charming, you're right. Chief Qin just likes to worry for nothing. I've already told her about this situation many times. Manu also said, you know, every time I tell her not to worry, she feels that she doesn't have anything to worry about. Now, you really need to talk to her. Everything has to do with you." Qin Wan glared at Manu. "Manu, you're the host in Shenzhen. Shouldn't you show some hospitality? I knew you were going to kill me." Manu snorted. "You know I'm going to kill you, but you still want to stay and be killed." Qin Wan said, "Since you're so self-aware, I won't be too harsh on you. Go to the Xingwang temple to eat our food. Let's go." Manu was always very generous. "You're the leader. You have the final say. Let's go. I'll call Uncle Qin now." "You don't need to call Uncle Qin." Qin Wan said, "Don't you know Uncle Qin? If he doesn't work overtime, he will definitely go home to eat with his family." "Then let him call his family," Manu said. Qin Wan shook her head. "Then you want Uncle Qin to treat you, you idiot." Manu thought about it. That was indeed the case. Just as the three of them decided where to eat, there was a knock on the office door. Qin Wan thought something happened. "Please come in." "Chief Qin, it's me." Uncle Qin pushed the door open and entered. The three of them were stunned. Tai Kong laughed and said, "Since CEO Su is here, as a person from Shenzhen, I have to express my gratitude. Chief Qin, don't decline. I've already asked my wife to go to the Xingwang temple. Let's go to the restaurant that we all like to eat at, okay? That place is okay. Hee, the main thing is that it's affordable." "Uncle Qin, you're thinking the same thing as us," Manu said. "Originally, I wanted to treat, but since you've already prepared, I won't snatch it from you. I'll continue tomorrow night." "Ha ha ha, okay." Tai Kong laughed straightforwardly. "As long as CEO Su doesn't mind that the place is ordinary. Uncle Qin, if it weren't for them, I would really want to go to a food stall or street stall with you. We can have a few skewers, a few glasses of beer, a plate of stir-fried vegetables, and some vinegar peanuts." Su Yun wasn't lying at all. He really liked that. It was so comfortable. "I like that too." Tai Kong didn't expect Su Yun to be so easy to get along with. He was in a good mood. "Actually, I like that kind of high-class restaurant more. It's a pity that my wallet isn't full enough. Otherwise, I would eat those delicious food every day," Manu said with a yearning expression. Qin Wan stood up. "Then let's go. Let Manu eat at the high-class restaurant by herself." "No, don't not bring me. Why wouldn't I go if there's a treat? Eating skewers is fine too. Don't not bring me." Manu hurriedly followed. Chapter 3692. On the other side, Chuan Shan had to deal with the casino's VIP room boss while giving orders to his subordinates. It was really difficult for him. He needed his subordinates to find a way to contact Sky Entertainment Group and Su Yun as soon as possible. Using investment as an excuse was the easiest way for Chuan Shan to get in touch with Sky Entertainment Group. Chuan Shan had to make sure his mind was clear while arranging this so that it would be easier for him to deal with the casino. Ha 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 ha. With a burst of hearty laughter, the casino's VIP room boss appeared. This guy, who was called Fatty by the people in the Macau region, was not a simple person. Chen Aoshing had been involved in real estate development in the Macau region since his early years. Since the return of Macau, he had started to use his connections to enter Zhu City, which was close to Macau. Although Zhu City could only be considered as a second-tier city in Huaxia, due to its unique geographical location, the housing prices were definitely considered as high among second-tier cities. Therefore, Chen Aoshing had made a lot of money in Zhu City's real estate business. Now, the biggest VIP room in Macau's super casino was contracted by him. He had become even more prosperous in the past few years. Conservatively speaking, Chen Aoshing could be considered a very rich person in Macau. He had at least tens of billions in assets in his pocket. Chuan Shan heard Chen Aoshing's laughter and took the initiative to stand up. He could not put on airs now. After all, he owed Chen Aoshing more than 500 million. I'm so sorry. When I heard that President Chuan was here, I declined all the things that I could decline. Fatty smiled. I really did not expect this to be related to President Chuan. Ha ha ha, after all this time, Mr. Carlos is actually President Chuan's son. Chuan Shan smiled. He was completely suppressing his anger. Legend Chuan Shan was still sitting there as if nothing had happened. Chuan Shan was really disappointed in his son. Legend Chuan Shan had no judgment at all. Now that he had stood up, Legend Chuan Shan did not have the slightest intention of being polite. It was as if he really thought of himself as a debt master. If he owed money to those without ability, connections, or strength, he could be a debt master and enjoy the feeling of being a debt master. But this was the money he owed Chen Aoshing. This was not the kind of migrant worker that could be easily bullied. This was someone who could make them unable to leave Macau safely with just a flick of his finger. Mr. Chen, I apologize for what my son has done. Chuan Shan turned to glare at the legendary battle pet warrior. Stand up and apologize to Mr. Chen. The legend of legendary stood up in a daze. Didn't he just ask him to show off his power? Why did he ask him to apologize now? What's there to apologize for? He only borrowed some money. Even if he couldn't pay it back now, he could pay it back in the future. What was there to apologize for? No matter how confused the legendary battle pet warrior was, Chuan Shan's words were like an imperial edict to him. He had to listen. I'm sorry, Mr. Chen. Legend stood up and looked at the fatty from head to toe. No wonder people called him Fatty. He was King Fat. If Chen Aoshing was thrown into a pigsty in a village, it would be hard to tell the difference between him and an old sow. Below the fat head was a fat body, and there wasn't even a neck in the middle. Not only did he not have a neck, his arms and legs were so fat that they seemed to be connected to his body. The legendary battle pet warrior had never seen anyone so fat in his life. He even thought that Chen Aoshing was more than 250 pounds. Mr. Carlos, what are you talking about? President Chuan, why are you apologizing? The fatty smiled. You are all VIPs of my casino. We are all working together happily. Even if you need some money from me, I won't say a word. Chuan Shan smiled. The fatty was really good at doing business. He was also good at talking. Mr. Chen, I want my son to apologize this time because I really can't make up for the chips he owes right away. Chuan Shan said lightly. My son fell into someone's trap. Not only did he lose more than $1 billion in the casino, but he was also set up outside. I just paid 600 million in ransom to get him back. The fat man waved his hand generously. What are you talking about, President Chuan? Your son, Mr. Carlos, only borrowed a few $100 million from me. Even if it was twice as much, I wouldn't chase after President Chuan to collect the debt from you. Ha ha ha. The legendary battle pet warrior was relieved. However, Chuan Shan knew that he couldn't believe everything he said halfway. Is a few $100 million still money in your eyes? The fatty laughed even louder. Ha ha ha, I know you didn't bring that much money this time. It's okay. I'll bring it back in a few days. I'm not in a hurry. I won't charge you interest. The legendary battle pet warrior was no longer relaxed. How about this? I know President Chuan is very busy. Mr. Carlos is also very busy every day. The fatty said, 1 week. After 1 week, President Chuan will bring the money or arrange for someone to bring the money. I'll definitely treat you well. The legendary battle pet warrior finally understood why his father hadn't said a word earlier. It turned out that Chuan Shan had been waiting for the fatty to finish speaking. Before the fatty finished speaking, everything he said was nonsense. Only the last sentence of the fatty's speech was useful. 1 week. The fatty gave them 1 week to raise the 500 million. Mr. Chen, as you know, my son lost 1.9 billion in your living room. Now, he lost another 600 million to 18K. Chuan Shan explained unhurriedly, in the blink of an eye, I've lost 2 to 3 billion. Understood. The fatty smiled. Chuan Shan smiled but didn't say anything. The fatty looked at Chuan Shan seriously. President Chuan, you're saying that you're a little short on money, right? Chuan Shan still used the same smile to face the fat man. He was a person who didn't like to talk nonsense and listen to nonsense. He only wanted to hear the fat man's last sentence. President Chuan, who are you? As the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. The fatty smiled. Even if President Chuan tells me that you don't have a penny, I won't rush to ask you for money. Ha ha ha. The legendary battle pet warrior looked at his father and then at the fatty. This fatty was too righteous. Moreover, his father's reputation was too great. Since President Chuan is in trouble for 1 week, I'll give you 1 month. I don't care. The fat guy smiled and said, it's just that my little brothers need to rely on the interest to eat. If it's a month. Hee, how does President Chuan plan to calculate this amount of money? Chuan Shan understood the power of compound interest. I don't have experience in this. Chapter 3693. The fat man waved his hand. It doesn't matter if you don't have experience. I have experience, but I won't charge you according to the standards of the market. We are all friends, and you are all my VIPs. So, I will charge you an auspicious number, 600 million. Chuan Shan's heart was obviously broken. The fat man was really ruthless. He could bite him to death. In fact, Chuan Shan was very clear in his heart. It could be seen from the attitude of 18K's people towards him. Now that he was in China, he was no longer a quality customer in the eyes of the people in Macau. This was because people like them in China could be directly implicated by a corruption case at any time. Then, a group of people would be caught and all would be gone. Therefore, in the eyes of the fat man, Chuan Shan was not a person who could be long-term cooperation. Since it was impossible to cooperate for a long time, why not seize the opportunity to bite him hard? The fat man looked at Chuan Shan with a smile, waiting for Chuan Shan's answer. Chuan Shan suddenly took out his phone and threw it on the table. The phone showed Su Yun's photo. Mr. Chen, I have now found the person who won the money from my son. I will find a way to communicate with him. Chuan Shan said, if it is possible, I may be able to return the money to you in less than a month. The fat man could hear that Chuan Shan wanted to bargain. President Chuan, you think a week is too short, and a month is too long. If you want me to say it, then give me a date that you think is suitable. For the sake of our previous cooperation, I will definitely not charge you a penny more within the date you give me. Mr. Chen is really a straightforward person. Chuan Shan said. The fat man's expression was no longer smiling. I am a straightforward person, but straightforward people only like to do straightforward business with straightforward people. 2 weeks. When Chuan Shan heard the fat man's words, he said without hesitation, I only need 2 weeks. I don't know if it is convenient for Mr. Chen. It is. The fat man nodded. If Chuan Shan could get the money back for him in 2 weeks, he would definitely accept it. After all, this proved that this guy still had the ability to earn money. At least, it meant that he could still transfer money to his place a few times. He could still earn money from Chuan Shan. When Chuan Shan saw the fatty agree so readily, he felt a little relieved. Mr. Chen, I've lost so much at your place. Aren't you responsible for that at all? The Legend of Legendary asked another stupid question. The fat man's expression was a little unhappy. Mr. Carlos, in my place, all the dealers are clean. You can investigate this as you wish. I suggest that you don't look for outsiders to play 5-card stud when you're unlucky. It would be strange if you didn't lose so badly. You. The legendary battle pet warrior paused. Well, you're to blame for this. Chuan Shan glanced at his son. He didn't want to offend Fatty at this time. If Chuan Shan had the upper hand over 18K previously, he might have been able to come here and criticize Fatty. However, he didn't dare to do so now. 18K didn't give him any face at all. If he offended Fatty, Fatty would call 18K's people and 18K's people would come to humiliate him in front of Chuan Shan again. Chuan Shan had enough of Qiu Shan's face. He didn't want to be humiliated by Qiu Shan again, so he didn't want to offend Fatty. The bosses in the Port District's casinos had always been in close contact with 18K. Fatty and Qiu Shan must be brothers and friends. Even if they weren't, they must have a very, very good working relationship. Their relationship in any aspect was better than Chuan Shan's. President Chuan, I know you have a very special relationship in China. Since you've already found this person, it's only a matter of time before you get the money back. I have confidence in you. Fatty smiled. When President Chuan gets the money back, I'll definitely celebrate for you. You can come to me any time. Whether it's breakfast or supper, it's on me. Ha ha ha. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Chuan Shan squeezed out a smile. If there's nothing else, I won't keep you company. Fatty suddenly stood up and said, President Chuan, I'm really sorry. Since you're here, I should be the host, but there's something I can't push aside. I really have no other choice. President Chuan, you came so suddenly that you didn't contact me in advance. Mr. Chen, you don't have to explain. I understand. Chuan Shan nodded. Fatty waved goodbye and left. He didn't want to waste any more time. After the fat guy left, the others also left one after another. The room was deserted. Chuan Shan's face was pale. Legend wanted to say something, but when he saw his father's gloomy face, he shut his mouth. He didn't want to provoke anyone. Chuan Shan just sat there quietly. After about 10 minutes of calming down, he slowly stood up. Legend saw his father's face was much better, so he dared to speak. Dad, are we just going to let it go? What else do you want? Chuan Shan looked at Legend expressionlessly. His voice was weak. He was having a headache. Before Chuan Shan lost his temper, his subordinates in China contacted him. They found the number of Sky Entertainment Group's secretary, Feng Ying. They told Chuan Shan that if he wanted to make an appointment with Sky Entertainment Group's CEO, he had to talk to Feng Ying first. If it wasn't for this good news, Legend would have been slapped in the face again. Chuan Shan took a deep breath and looked at his son. I'm warning you. From now on, I don't want to hear another word from your mouth about this. Legend lowered his head. He didn't dare to talk back. Now I'm going to beg someone for your sake. You know I hate begging people the most. Chuan Shan was expressionless. When I was young, I didn't have any ability. In order to survive, in order to become a leader, I was willing to beg people. For my own benefit, I was willing to kneel in front of those who could help me. That's why I hate begging people the most. Do you understand? Legend still didn't dare to speak. He just nodded. I hate this feeling the most. Because of you, I have to try again. Chuan Shan said. That's why I'm always thinking about how much trouble you've caused me. I know. I won't say another word. Legend was getting impatient. He hated the feeling of having to teach him a lesson so many times. The woman saw this and quickly pulled Legend away. She tried to divert Chuan Shan's attention. Dad, is there anything I can do to help? If there is, please tell me.
You.
Chuan Shan let out a disdainful sneer. Ignoring everyone, he strode forward. Chapter 36-94. Chuan Shan didn't expect the two of them to help him with anything. He needed to get in touch with Feng Ying personally. There was a clearer explanation in the message sent by his subordinates. Feng Ying was the founding hero of Sky Entertainment Group. When old Tai Sui founded Sky Entertainment Group, he was already working there. If Chuan Shan wanted her to take him seriously, he had to lower his status first. Only when he lowered his status would she give him the opportunity to do so. Before contacting Feng Ying, Chuan Shan needed to calm down and think about what to say. He needed a rigorous investment plan. So he needed to calm down. He didn't want to see a disappointing son. That would make him lose his train of thought. After Chuan Shan returned to the hotel, he was given a completely quiet space. Then he thought of a very good excuse. An excuse to establish a close relationship with Sky Entertainment Group. That's right, it was to use the current hot IP as a breakthrough point. After thinking it through, Chuan Shan quickly dialed Feng Ying's number. He didn't know that Feng Ying was in Hong Kong and Macau at the moment. Sky Entertainment Group's team had just finished a day's work. Everyone had eaten and was preparing to have a good rest. This was their last night in Macau. Tomorrow, they would go directly to the port area and have fun for 3 days. After that, their trip would be over. Feng Ying had been working hard these past few days. She wasn't a person who liked to travel. For her, everything here was work. While dealing with work here, she also had to receive a lot of calls from outside. Feng Ying was very dissatisfied with the work of the company's public relations department. She didn't know what use the director of the public relations department had. Whenever there was a slightly bigger problem that couldn't be solved, they would eventually contact her. Then she would pass on the message to the bosses. Hello, Sky Entertainment Group's Feng Ying. Feng Ying habitually picked up after seeing the unfamiliar number. Hello, Secretary Feng. Chuan Shan could tell from Feng Ying's opening speech that she was a very capable person. She definitely didn't like to drag things out. So the more he cut to the chase, the more Feng Ying liked him. Let me introduce myself. I'm a businessman. My name is Chuan Shan. I hope to have an opportunity to cooperate with Sky Entertainment Group. Hello, President Chuan. I don't know what kind of cooperation you're talking about. Feng Ying received such calls every day. Some people's cooperation was really childish. She could directly reject them. Sky Entertainment Group is in the film industry, and I can get a very popular IP through my channels to adapt it for film. I'm sure Sky Entertainment Group will be interested, Chuan Shan said. Since he dared to say that, then he must have a way to get the IP copyright. Feng Ying was stunned for a moment. This kind of thing was obviously very reliable, so she naturally wouldn't reject it. President Ruo wants to talk to Sky Entertainment Group, right? Yes. I'd like to talk to you. I'm sure you'll be interested. Chuan Shan said, Secretary Feng, I'm sure you've heard of it. These 2 years, the IP has been quite popular. Whether it's urban novels like Evil Soldier King, or supernatural novels like Shredding the Onion, they're all very popular. Shredding the Onion has even developed a mobile game. It's very popular. I've heard of this before. Feng Ying said, Chief Chuan, it's not convenient for me right now. I'm not in the mainland. If you want to make an appointment, there's no rush. Chuan Shan smiled. I'll only be back tomorrow. I'm also out of the country. Feng Ying nodded. Then, President Chuan, you want to make an appointment with President Su to talk about it in detail? Yes. If you think my proposal is good for Sky Entertainment Group, I'm sure President Su will be willing to meet with me to discuss it, Chuan Shan said. I'm very interested in President Chuan's proposal. I'm sure Sky Entertainment Group will also be very interested in this collaboration, Feng Ying said. Feng Ying said, as for our CEO Su, as long as it's beneficial to Sky Entertainment Group, he won't refuse. I'll arrange it for you. If it's possible, Secretary Feng, please make an appointment for me. I can return to Shenzhen at noon tomorrow. I can arrive at Qingdao around 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We can meet at any time after that. Chuan Shan said, if Mr. Su has time. President Chuan is in Shenzhen? Feng Ying was stunned. Chuan Shan nodded. Yes. Actually, President Su is in Shenzhen right now, Feng Ying said. Feng Ying said, how about this? President Chuan, send me your company's address. I'll talk to President Su immediately. If President Su has the time, I'll ask him to pay you a visit. President Su is in Shenzhen? Chuan Shan smiled. That's not good. That would make me seem insincere. Secretary Feng, tell me where President Su is. I have to pay him a visit in person. I can't let President Su come to me. That's absolutely impossible. Feng Ying saw Chuan Shan's sincerity and didn't think too much about it. President Su usually stays in Shenzhen at Xingkai Hotel. He won't go to other hotels. Oh. Then what's the room number? Chuan Shan continued to ask. I'm not sure. He might stay in a hotel, but he might not be there, Feng Ying said. President Su isn't just the president of Sky Entertainment Group. He also has shares in Shenzhen's Xingkai Hotel. I see. President Su is really young and promising. Chuan Shan said, if that's the case, I'll have to trouble Secretary Feng to ask President Su for me. If President Su has the time, I'll definitely pay him a visit. Okay, I'll help you ask now. After I have the answer, I'll tell you. Feng Ying nodded. Thank you, Secretary Feng. Chuan Shan's mouth showed a satisfied smile. He didn't expect things to go so smoothly. After hanging up the phone, Chuan Shan poured a glass of red wine contentedly. He needed to sleep well. He had to wake up early tomorrow to catch a plane. He was no longer suitable for long-distance travel at his age. Taking a plane for days would make his whole body suffer. The reason why Chuan Shan was so angry about coming to Hong Kong and Macau was that he had no choice but to take such a long flight. It was too tiring, really too tiring. Before Chuan Shan even finished a glass of wine, Feng Ying sent him a message. President Su agreed to meet you. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, President Su will invite President Chuan Shan to dinner at Xingkai Hotel. You can talk slowly over dinner. After seeing this message, Chuan Shan's mood was much better. He drank the red wine in his hand. This was an excellent opportunity for him. Chuan Shan hoped that he didn't waste a minute. After drinking, he had to let himself fall asleep as soon as possible. He needed to have a good talk with Su Yun tomorrow. As long as he could pull in the relationship, the rest could be done slowly. Chapter 3695. Su Yun and the others were eating local dishes at the Xing Wang Temple. They were chatting happily when they received a call from Feng Ying. When Su Yun picked up the phone, his whole person seemed to have changed. He didn't expect the other party to surface so quickly. This made Su Yun feel a little overjoyed. Who is Chuan Shan? Su Yun suddenly asked after hanging up the phone. Qin Wan was stunned. She was inexplicably sensitive to anyone with the surname Chuan. Chuan Shan. She had always asked the Household Registration Department to investigate all the people with the surname Chuan in Shenzhen. She didn't expect Chuan Shan to be such a big shot. He was the famous chairman of the Chamber of Commerce in Shenzhen. However, Chuan Shan wasn't registered in Shenzhen. Therefore, the Household Registration Department didn't find Chuan Shan's account during the investigation. However, could the son of such a big chairman be the guy called Legend from the Macau region? This was a typical combination of a tiger father and a dog son. He didn't inherit any of Legend's genes. That was why he was so stupid. At least, Qin Wan thought Legend was a stupid guy. Chuan Shan is the famous chairman of the Chamber of Commerce in Shenzhen. Manu said seriously, he is in touch with a lot of businesses. He does everything that makes money. He is a well-informed person. He does everything that makes money? Su Yun asked. Manu nodded. Yes. It is said that he is involved in all kinds of industries. That's why everyone recommended him to be the chairman. After Manu said that, Tai Kong added, actually, Chairman Chuan Shan first relied on the stock market. The stock market was played with patience and strategy. Therefore, Su Yun was against investing in the stock market. This kind of thing would give people the feeling that they were constantly flipping over and over. It would make people restless and impatient. Impatience was the enemy of investing. The rising and falling stock price would make people dizzy. If their eyes were dizzy, how could they see clearly? Investing in the stock market like this was definitely very blind. How big was the chance of making money if one invested blindly? It was like running around on the battlefield with a gun. It was definitely a 90% chance of survival. Therefore, a lot of people who invested in the stock market were usually invested in the stock market. To be able to rely on the stock market, especially the stock market of Huaxia, without any special connections, it was almost impossible to make it big. Of course, in the stock market was not the stock itself. If that was the case, it would be like seeing the trees but not the forest. The most important thing when playing the stock market was mentality and strategy, and these strategies were the loopholes in the stock market. Once a smart person understood these strategies, they could start digging for gold from the loopholes. People who can play stocks are definitely not ordinary, Su Yun said. Tai Kong said, yes, many people say that he is very powerful, saying that he has seen through the loopholes in the stock market. What loophole? Su Yun asked. After all, Tai Kong was from old Shenzhen. He had a certain level of understanding and research about the life stories of some of the big shots in Shenzhen. I heard about it too. I heard that President Chuan told his friends about some of the loopholes in the stock market. As he spoke, Tai Kong drank a mouthful of water and continued. First, it is the fundamentals and technology. It is said that with the rise of blue chip stocks, the importance of the study of fundamentals has been raised to the peak in recent years. However, for small individual investors, they have to work during the day and have so many chores at night. How much time and skill do they have to study the fundamentals? As for going to listed companies to do research, it is even more nonsense. In fact, the changes in the fundamentals will be reflected in the changes in the stock price. The study of technology is the fundamental way out for individual investors, Tai Kong said. However, Su Yun could tell from Tai Kang's wife's expression that Tai Kong definitely did not make money from the stock market. However, Tai Kang's words were quite reasonable. The second is the middle line and the short line. There is not much meaning in strictly distinguishing between the middle line and the short line. If the rise after the intervention stagnates and falls close to the cost, then you have to come out first to avoid being trapped. After all, the safety of the capital is the most important at any time. If it has been on the rise after the intervention, then you can naturally hold shares in the middle line. What Kong Tai said was what he had heard from many people. It was said that these experiences were summarized by Chuan Shan. Even if there is a shock later, because it is far away from the cost, you can hold shares in peace. If the stock price can't be far away from the cost, then it can't be said to be in the middle line at all. As for those stocks that have been adjusted after the intervention, don't play with them. After all, not many individual investors are relatives of the main force. How do you know when they start and whether they are the leader? When the main force washes the market, it is still fine if it is above their cost. If it is below their cost and they have a heavy warehouse, then not only will they not be able to get any benefits, they might even have to stop losses and be eliminated. Uncle Qin, you really know a lot. Qin Wan-er and Man Yu both widened their eyes. Tai Kong smiled embarrassedly. Seeing that Su Yun was still interested in listening, he continued, the third is to focus on the market and ignore the individual stocks. Because 80% of the individual stocks are in line with the market, so seeing the direction of the market is also seeing the direction of most of the individual stocks. This is a stable operation. Keep an eye on the stocks of a few main forces, familiarize yourself with the stock market, study it thoroughly, and repeatedly arbitrage with the fluctuations of the market. For individual investors who don't have much time, this method is not bad. Sure, Uncle Chin, I'll just play the stock market with you. Man, you could not hold it in anymore. How much money have you earned all these years? Uncle Chin's wife smiled bitterly. I don't know where he heard so many theories, but when he really puts them into practice, he still loses money. Tai Kong also shook his head helplessly. I heard from others about the loopholes and experiences of the legendary president. Uncle Chin, continue. Su Yun smiled and nodded. The fourth is to ignore the market and focus on the individual stocks. As long as the market is not falling sharply, as long as there are individual stocks that meet the conditions of the profit model, you can attack boldly with a certain position. You can chase up and buy down. This method does not participate in the absorption of stock, consolidation, and shipping of stock. It is a method of huge profits, but the risk is not high. The key is to be able to reach this level of operation. Once you reach this level, you will not be far from becoming a millionaire. After Tai Kong finished speaking, he shook his head. Although I know all this, I can't save myself when it's time to lose money. Man Yu shook her head in disappointment. Then, aren't you saying all this for nothing? Tai Kong smiled bitterly and nodded. That's right. It really feels like I've learned for nothing. Uncle Chin, if this President Chuan's words are really so reliable, then why can't you become a rich president? Su Yun smiled. Actually, this is quite simple. A smart person can understand why he won't lose money. There must be something he won't tell you. Tai Kong was stunned. Although Qin Wan had never speculated in stocks before, she still said seriously, some people say that Hua Xiao's stock market is not clean. It seems like this is not groundless. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.